Daenerys will win this war. You're a military man. You must know there's no way around that. Daenerys is not her father. She's even willing to suspend the hostilities if Cersei agrees to certain terms.
You want Cersei to bend the knee, you can ask her yourself.
I don't. Daenerys doesn't. Not right now, anyway. She has a more important request.
When you play the game of microphones, you win or you die. From within the House of Black and White, it's Sir Duncan and Lady Rachel.
Good morrow, freezing fire god worshippers and toasted Tarlys, and welcome to Game of Microphones. I'm Lord Sterling, Sir Duncan, the harbinger of winter.
And I'm Lady Rachel of House Fox, the interviewed.
And this is episode 107.
On this episode of our series Rewatch, we're covering Game of Thrones, Season 7, Episode 5, Eastwatch.
And in case you're not already aware, this series Rewatch is from the perspective of someone who's current on the show. That means you've seen up through Season 7. If not, there's still time to take a massive warhammer to the face so you don't have to hear these spoilers.
Warning.
Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert.
Ouch.
I love that part.
Me too.
Gendry's so gangsta.
I know.
Gendry!
What up, Gendry?
Right? He's back.
He's back. That's actually my number 5.
Perfect. Jump right into it.
Nice. I just love Davos.
Yes.
I wasn't sure I'd find you. Thought you might still be rowing.
Oh, I know, right? I love that meta joke, because that was the joke for like all the years that he was missing. Like, oh, he's got to still be out there rowing. Pictures of him online with like massive arms from rowing the whole time and stuff. Yeah,
and the second they started showing, like Davos is in King's Landing, and then they started showing blacksmithing going on.
Yes.
I knew Gendry was coming into the fold. So, Gendry kind of turns around and smiles at him, and Davos, what a dumbass.
What a dumbass. Why?
Because he's like looking everywhere but the Street of Steel.
Right. Yeah, I know. I remember watching this the first time. Like you said, we're seeing like hammers coming down, smacking, blacksmithing going on. We're seeing all this armor stacked up everywhere. And I was like, oh, I know where Davos is going.
Yeah, so I figured he would go there first,
Yeah.
But no, he's going to shops, taverns, and brothels.
Right. That's hilarious.
And Davos has some great lines in this, and Gendry asks him, he's like, aren't you worried about the gold cloaks, like, seeing you? Really shouldn't be here.
Right. You're just walking around out in the open.
He's like, dude, I haven't been here in, like, a decade. They wouldn't recognize me. Sometimes I hardly do.
Yeah, right. Look in the mirror. Don't even recognize yourself. Nothing
fucks you harder than time.
Classic.
Oh,
Classic.
Damn.
Davos is smart about this stuff, too. Like, he knows that sometimes the best place to hide is in plain sight. Like, when you're not expected type thing. Yeah.
And so he asks, did you get any trouble, like, when he came back? And he goes, no. Here I am. I'm arming Lannisters. I never get a second look. The safest place was right under the Queen's nose.
Right, just like you said.
Yeah.
Yeah, hilarious.
And Davos has a good point here. He goes, safety is never a permanent state of affairs.
Yeah, I love that line.
Bad things are coming. And it reminded me of like winter is coming.
Yeah, exactly.
He didn't say that.
He's not a Stark, so he wouldn't necessarily have that phrase coming, but he knows about the undead army. And I like this too, because he's here to like give Gendry a heads up on what's going on and give him an opportunity to get out of here. And it's like he couldn't save Shireen but he saved Gendry once, and he's ready to like try to make another go at it to make sure he's protected and prepared for the bad things that are coming. So it's sort of like a way that he can redeem himself for failing Shireen is to save another Baratheon, at least a bastard that's still alive, right?
Yeah, the only Baratheon left on this planet that we know of. So Gendry's like, so I want to come with you. You came to get me. Let's go. And Davos is like, wait. I think you kind of need to understand something. You really need to know what we're heading into. He goes, don't you think I've been thinking about it with every swing of the hammer?
So Robert's son, when he said every swing of the hammer, I was like, oh man, like such a Baratheon.
Yeah, because he did the war, or Robert wielded the war hammer.
Yeah.
So, he's like, I am really not super content making weapons for the family that killed my father.
Yeah.
And the family that tried to kill me, basically.
Totally.
And so he just basically tosses his tools off to the side. He takes his apron off and he picks up like a man bag, a satchel.
A merce.
And he goes, I've been getting ready. I never knew what for, but I've always known I'd know when it comes.
Oh man, that's such an epic quote.
Yeah, it's so like cool. He knows that he has a purpose to serve.
Right. There's like destiny is calling him. He doesn't understand what it's saying yet, but he hears the call and he's getting ready to take his hero's journey.
Yeah, and so Davos is like, you really need to bring one of these swords. And he's like, nope, don't know much about swinging swords, but this. And he pulls out this giant warhammer. I was like, oh my God.
I know. I saw this coming a mile away too. I was like waiting for it,
Yeah, and I think it's because, Melisandre is the one that kind of told Gendry that he's Robert Baratheon's bastard. And so I think he did it on purpose. Like he purposely forged this warhammer kind of in like homage to his father.
Yeah, it does have a Baratheon like stag antlers on it as well. I think that it was like it felt natural and right for him. He started like feeling a kinship with his father after learning the truth. Probably that's one of the reasons, because his father was notorious for swinging a hammer, and here he is growing up in the street of steel, a blacksmith, right? So it just felt so natural for him. I bet that it didn't even take much thought. He was like, "Yep, gonna craft a warhammer."
Yeah, he actually kind of alludes to that. He says, this I know.
Yeah, exactly.
That's all he does all day long is swing a hammer.
I loved how he was so ready to go, just like right off the bat too. It was sort of, it felt like a sort of meta enthusiasm, whereas like the actor who plays Gendry, he was on the show for season 2, then like a little bit of season 3 maybe, and then he's gone for all these years. And now when things are getting really crazy, he gets the opportunity to come back on the show. So the actor's just sitting there on ice, knowing that his character's out there. Yeah, exactly. He's like, I'm ready to go. I'm ready. Do this. Yeah. And then next episode, when they make him run all that distance, I feel that's like hazing. Like, oh, we shot this show 200 days a year for years leading up to this point. We earned it. You want to join the crew now at this point late in the game? You're gonna run. We're gonna make you earn your spot on the team.
Yeah, that's so great. I love that.
Yeah, hilarious.
So, that was all of my number 5.
All right, but we could
continue because I guess there's more of Gendry and Davos. They go back to the boat.
Oh, right. Yeah, we can talk about that part too. And my number 2, I think, is when Gendry meets Jon Snow. So we can stop before that part and continue that when we get to number 2s or whatever.
Perfect. Yeah. So then we cut back down to the beach and Gendry, lays his hammer into the boat.
Yes.
And Davos,
that thing is monstrous too.
It's like so fucking big. It's huge.
Oh,
it's heavy. It looks really heavy.
Yeah, it does. A lot of inertia when you swing that thing.
Yeah, you have to be fucking strong.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
Oh man.
So Davos is instructing him, you need to keep quiet about being Robert Baratheon's dad or son.
And that doesn't last long.
It's a very complicated situation. All right.
There's a lot of dynamics going on here. Old kings from the north, Targaryen dynasty coming back into play. Last thing we need is the people who took over the Targaryen dynasty, potentially being players on the chessboard right now. Just be quiet. It'll be the best for everybody. Although Davos is quite presumptuous to hide the truth from the king in the north, and from Dany. He lies to Jon saying, this is Clovis when they get to the cave. You know what I mean? Jon could be like, whoa, did you just lie to me?
I think it's to protect Jon because he does say, the king in the north has way too much on his plate. He doesn't need to be worried about harboring the bastard son of a dead king.
Right.
While in the presence of the Targaryens.
Sure. Yeah, the motivation makes sense, but nonetheless, he's lying to the king.
That's true.
You know what I mean?
That's true. Jon doesn't really seem to mind, though, and I'm sure we'll get there.
Think about this, though. He has a history with the Baratheons. He served Stannis for a long time. All of a sudden, he's got a Baratheon bastard under his wing, and he's sneaking around about it with among these other kings. It's he's plotting to reinstate the Baratheon house, he should just be honest about it, basically, so he doesn't look suspicious, which he's not, intentionally at least.
That's true. So the gold cloaks start walking down the long staircase, and Gendry's like, who should I say I am? And Davos just, I told you, Clovis, if we don't get out of here soon, someone is going to, you there.
Yeah.
And Davos immediately shows him the gold cloaks. I don't have any weapons.
Smart.
He opens up his cloak. We're friends, I promise. What can I do for you?
You can tell he's got experience.
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy that he doesn't have any weapons on him, but he does say a lot that he's not a fighter. So
yeah,
I'd carry some type of weapon on me anywhere.
He knows
in this
the
world.
ropes with the gold cloaks, how they charge a fee, the troll toll and stuff like that.
A troll toll.
Gotta pay the troll toll if you want to get this boy's soul.
You gotta pay the troll toll. If you want to get into that boy's hole, you gotta pay the troll toll to get in.
Not bad. Good rhythm. Love the enthusiasm. I feel like you're saying boy's hole, and it's clearly soul.
Nice. So they ask, if this is the boat, if this is Davos's boat, and the second guard, he goes, well, why aren't you at the docks? They're this way. And he goes, well, I'm just trying to avoid the kind people like yourselves.
Which had 5 golden dragons.
And the guy's like, are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah,
it's 15
you must
apiece.
you must be even older than you look. It's been a while since you've been smuggling.
Yeah.
Hilarious. That's the old prices, son.
Yeah, and so Davos is pissed, and he reaches into his purse and pulls out 30 gold dragons.
That's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money.
That's got to be a valuable boatload. You know what I mean? Worth that amount to pay to smuggle it. You got to be carrying some valuable goods.
Yeah, absolutely. So Davos is pissed off, and he's like, I can't say it was a pleasure doing business with you.
And they kind of laugh.
And they get curious. They're like, well, what's in the boat?
And the hammer is out.
Yeah.
He just said we don't have any weapons, I promise.
Yeah, exactly. And so he gets kind of smart here. They're contemplating what's in the boat, if it's wine or ham. Davos is like, come and have a look. And Gendry's like, what are you doing,
crazy?
Dude? My hammer's laying in the boat. So he throws the blanket over the hammer, which was super clever. You can definitely tell that he has done this a few times before.
This type of thing, yeah, totally. Super slick.
And he reveals fermented crab.
Oh, gross.
I think it's not really fermented crab. I think it's this crab that he was using as a decoy, but it's gone bad. So he's making up a story
about it.
About it, like why it smells so bad.
What they like use this garbage for.
Yeah.
Oh, so
I don't
gross.
think it's necessarily fermented. I think it's like bad crab. That's like crab that's gone bad.
Well, it would be fermenting.
Well, that's true. So he's not totally lying. Oh God. And so, he gives us the story of that it triples the brothel's earnings for the week because the man thinks he's done and he's ready to go back to his loving family. But before he gets his britches up, the lady of the hour pops a tiny spoon of that into his mouth.
And then
5 minutes later,
he's Beavis on an airplane again.
He's back in the race. And then he offers them a taste, and the guys are like, ew. They like smell it and they taste it, and their face is like, oh my God, this is fucking
so
gross. And so to get them to go away, he's like, I'd hurry along, go to your favorite establishment, have a good time.
Otherwise, you'll put a hole through that chainmail.
Oh my God, that's so bad.
Yeah, hilarious. With their fat pink masts.
Oh my God.
For a Sam reference.
Sam, yeah. So everything seems to kind of be going well. They actually like turn to walk away, and terrible timing on Tyrion's part.
I know, right?
It's like if he were
should have
of
peered
normal
around the corner
stature,
first.
Yeah, they wouldn't have even batted an eye. But because he's a dwarf, and has that scar on his face, they instantly notice him.
They're like, we were supposed to be hunting a guy with a scar like that. A dwarf,
well, I got this
nonetheless.
one from a fish hook.
That's pretty slick.
Yeah, and he looks over at Gendry and he's like, some men you just can't teach. So he's already
hilarious.
Like
blaming Gendry.
Yeah, a stranger.
Totally. He's like, he plays it off so well. Like that's like you said, like including the stranger in the ruse, like playing the part, really slickly done.
Yeah, he doesn't just talk to Davos. He's talking to Gendry too, bringing him kind of into the fold. Yeah, and Gendry's just standing there.
Yeah, I like when Tyrion's like walking towards the boat too, and the gold cloaks are following him. He looks at Davos and has this like frantic look on his face, like, do something. And remember Davos had said before that, like, hopefully we don't get found by any gold cloaks, because I have to warn you now, I'm not a fighter. Remember?
Yeah.
I'm not a fighter.
Yeah.
So
not a fighter.
Shit. Like now the gold cloaks are on their asses, and Davos is not a fighter. So Tyrion's like, fuck. The plan's falling apart. But luckily Gendry's there.
Oh, damn.
We don't need him quite yet, but he's there.
So Davos quickly jumps back into action, and he's like jiggling his purse at them, like, I can pay you more. And they're like, dude, you can't pay us more than Queen Cersei. Cersei's looking for a dwarf with a scar like that. Like, he's ours, basically.
And as they're talking in the background, you can see Gendry like creeping up with a fucking hammer cocked. Oh my God.
Boom.
Crack.
Tyrion winces. And then he looks away at the second one.
Yeah.
And we get this, image of the guy's face is totally smashed
up. And the way he swung it too, like he swung from the left and then swung the hammer around. So he to use the momentum of that bulbous hammer point, to help with his next swing. And he swung
it's
it
like
around.
Thor's
and
hammer,
whack.
Mjolnir,
exactly.
and he's swinging it around and around and around, and he can fly away.
Totally. It is about that big. It does look that heavy,
It does, yeah. It's a straight up war hammer for
beautiful
sure.
hammer. I think Valyrian Steel sells that one too, actually.
ValyrianSteel.com.
Yeah. Maybe, I don't know. I'll check.
Oh, I can't believe that place exists.
So
That's
cool.
So funny. So Davos looks over at Tyrion and says, "This is Gendry." And Tyrion, in just perfect fashion, goes, "He'll do."
Yep. Oh my God.
They get into the boat and sail away.
Yes, that was a great interaction. It's
it really was.
Yes. This is Gendry. He'll do. He just fucking saved our asses. He's obviously on point. Yes.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah. So what's your number 5?
My number 5 is Cersei learning the horrible truth.
Awesome. Is this right after Jaime's running down the hallway covered in mud?
Yes. Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
I just want to make sure I'm in the right Cersei scene here.
Right. So Jaime's walking down the hallway, just rushing to Cersei's chambers after returning from the loot train battle and from his conversation with Bronn and everything. And Qyburn tries to slow him down, impede his progress in the hallway, and he just blows right by him and ignores him and rushes into Cersei's room. And she looks surprised that somebody's entering, but she sees him and like is okay with it, doesn't freak out, right? And so she asks him straight up, like, first thing she says, how many men did we lose? So she's already aware of the defeat, but as we learn, she's in denial about the implications of the defeat. Jaime's like, we don't know how many people are dead. And she's like, it's armies that win wars. We have the Tyrell gold. We have the Iron backing us. We can buy mercenaries, like we're still in the fight.
It's like, you are a crackhead.
Yeah.
Like, what planet are you on?
Yeah. Jaime knows that it's like futile at this point.
I love that he talks about the Dothraki and it being like a sport for them.
Yeah.
There's 100,000 Dothraki.
Oh my God.
Like,
it's insane.
How many sellswords can you pay? Like,
right. There aren't even
if you
many.
Like, the Dothraki are going to fucking kill them. They do this for fun.
Right.
It was fun for them.
Robert had said only an idiot would face the Dothraki in the field, right? All those years ago, as our amazing listener pointed out in our feedback last week. And here, Jaime now knows the truth of that. His quote, he says, I just saw the Dothraki fight. They'll beat any mercenary army. They'll beat any army I've ever seen. Killing our men wasn't war for them. It was sport. I'm like, holy shit, that's fucking serious. And then he drops the big bombs, her dragon burned 1,000 wagons. Qyburn's scorpion fired bolts bigger than you. They couldn't stop it. She has 3 of them. This is not a war we can win. Like,
so she's like, well, what do you want me to do? Sue for peace?
Right.
I sit on her dad's throne. You murdered him.
Yeah. In other words, she wants both of us dead.
Yeah. What offer can we make? Let's just give her our lives because that's what she wants. She doesn't want to sue for peace with us.
Yeah. Oh, that moment with Jaime telling her how they can't win too. It's his turn to be Adrian from Rocky IV. You've seen him. You know how strong he is. It's suicide. You can't win.
Suicide.
Yeah.
Nice. I've actually ran up the Rocky Steps in Philadelphia.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool. I didn't know you'd been that far east.
They have his footprints at the very top. You can stand in them.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
Hey, Rocky Balboa.
Adrian.
Yeah. Oh, and then this is where another giant bomb gets dropped, right? Yeah. Cersei's like, she wants both of us dead, basically, and she's like, and in her mind, she's winning. What sort of offer do you think she'd even make to us? She just wants us dead, basically. And surprisingly, she actually does make an offer later in this episode, which Cersei wasn't expecting, right? But she goes on and brings up Tyrion. She's like, maybe we can count on Tyrion to intercede on our behalf by way of apology for murdering our father and son.
Freaking what a lunatic she is right now.
Right.
Why would Tyrion want to help you?
Yeah, totally. And this is when Jaime drops the big bombshell on her, the real big news that he learned from Olenna. And he's like, he didn't. And Cersei thinks he's talking about Tywin. You saw the crossbow. You saw the body. He's like, no, Joffrey. Tyrion didn't kill Joffrey. He had nothing to do with it. And Cersei just
After all this time, it still amazes me.
She has no idea. And Jaime just cuts her right off. Just it was Olenna. She confessed. Cersei still doesn't believe it. She's everything that she believes that they have a chance in the war, that Tyrion killed Joffrey. She lives in a giant delusion, And,
totally.
And Cersei's like, oh yeah, was it before or after she drank the poison? And
After.
Right. And you believed her? And and this is the line that really convinces her, that makes her think. Jaime's like, think about it. If you were Olenna, would you rather have your granddaughter married to Joffrey or Tommen? And a look of realization washes over Cersei's face as Jaime continues. Which one would Marjorie have been better able to control? Which one would have made Olenna the true ruler of the Seven Kingdoms?
She was telling the truth.
Yes, and Cersei realizes that that he's right, and she needs to sit down as she realizes that she's been living in
because she got an easy death, and we know at this point Cersei has some terrible fates imagined for her enemies.
Yeah,
she goes, she should have died screaming. I should not have listened to you.
Yeah, you're right. I thought she was having like a Timmy moment, like she'd been living a lie. Living a lie, living a lie. Oh, live a lie, come on. Yeah. But instead she's just like pissed that Cersei didn't, or that Olenna didn't suffer.
And Jaime's like, it doesn't matter. She's dead. Like her son, her grandchildren, her whole entire fucking house is wiped from the planet. Like, and if we don't figure out a way to get out of this war, we are close behind.
Yeah.
And Cersei knows, I think at this point, that she's fucked either way. So we fight and we die, or we submit and die. Because in her mind, even if they sue for peace, Dany doesn't want to be peaceful.
Right, she wants them dead because she's on the throne that belonged to Dany's father, or that Dany thinks belongs to her, and because Jaime killed her father.
And Dany would feel like, I'd never be safe with the Lannisters lurking around still.
Right.
She would need to kill them to feel completely safe on the throne.
Yeah.
Cersei.
So hardcore.
Cersei.
And she just like can't miss any opportunity to like talk down to Jaime, and she's like, so we fight and die, or we submit and die? I know my choice. A soldier should know his. And Jaime's
she's
like,
such a bitch.
Fuck. Yeah, such a bitch. Just can't help being just horrible at any possible moment.
She's so mean to him, and it bothers me because she's like supposed to love him, and it's like, how can you be so mean to the people that you love?
She's like Littlefinger. She doesn't know the meaning of love.
Littlefinger.
Littlefinger.
Oh, my goodness.
Yep.
Nice.
Yeah. So that's it for my number 5. Just thought that was a powerful scene as Cersei learns the truth about the dominance of the Targaryen forces and the truth about the murderer of Joffrey. Although she doesn't get the full truth because she doesn't know about Littlefinger's involvement. But yeah, just wild revelations for her that will, change her attitude a little bit moving forward. We'll be right back after this short trailer for the amazing new documentary, Beautiful America, by Mage Powers Productions. Free on YouTube. Make sure to check it out today.
I've traveled to a bunch of random places and random countries. But as a Midwestern guy, I recently have been falling in love with what the more rugged parts of America have to offer to all of us before they're gone. TEA MAGE Productions and Powers Media House presents Beautiful America, a musical documentary series with all original content. Explore the Southwest of America and indulge in some places you've heard of and plenty more that you certainly have not. Cooking under the stars in below freezing temps of Death Valley. 4K drone footage of one of the most insane monoliths on Earth. Driving in abandoned mines, cliffs, canyons, and wild times. Check it out. TEA MAGE Productions on Facebook and YouTube. That's TEA MAGE Productions. Beautiful America.
So what's your number 4?
My number 4 is Randall Gets Roasted.
Oh, Toasted Tarlys.
Toasted Tarlys. Yeah, so we're on the battleground here, and the scene actually starts out with Tyrion, and he's walking over the ground, which is just covered in ash, which is just like basically disintegrated bodies. So
crazy, right?
Yeah, and it's just like carnage as far as the eye can see.
And he looks very conflicted. It looks like a post-apocalyptic like nuclear fallout zone where it's just like
he's kind of shocked. He's kind of just like wandering through the disaster.
Right.
And
looking
he looks
disturbed.
over at the Dothraki, and they're doing what they do best, looting the Lannister soldiers.
Yep. Oh man, and the sad Reigns of Castamere is playing, and this all just is making me very nervous for Tyrion. He's becoming, it seems like he's feeling more sympathy towards House Lannister, right? And like as he's like looking at all the destroyed Lannister shields and stuff. And I'm worried that may be like mirroring Jaime becoming less loyal to Cersei, where like Jaime could be turning on Cersei, but Tyrion could be turning on Dany to some degree.
Yeah. Oops, sorry, my chair's squeaking.
That's right. Yeah, it just makes me nervous.
Yeah, it is. It's a little bit nerve-wracking. So then we get this amazing shot of Drogon.
Oh my God, dude. That's the coolest shit
huge.
Ever. His
wing is like kind of, I don't want to say transparent because it's not transparent, but it's like you can kind of see the light through his wing. And it's, my God,
it's like
so beautiful.
Translucent to some degree for sure.
And Dany is standing in front of all of the survivors, which there's not a lot of people left.
Yeah, and Tyrion is standing down in front too, and he looks really nervous. His hand is like twitching and clenching. I was like, oh shit.
Yeah. And I like Dany's speech here. You know, I know Cersei has told you ridiculous propaganda about me, that I'm here to burn down your homes, murder and orphan your children. But that's Cersei. That's not me.
It's kind of hard to believe, though, after what they all just witnessed. You know what I mean? It pans around the devastation, and she's like, I'm not here to destroy your houses, and everything around them is just like destroyed and massacred. And they're all just like, why should we believe you?
Although she could have gone in and destroyed their houses, and she didn't. She focused in on the fighting men, not the innocent people. So in the moment, if you're on the Lannister side, you're not really believing her at this point. But if you look at it from kind of an objective view.
Right. I agree. Yeah.
And pull away from the situation, that's exactly what she did. She saved the innocents as much as possible. You know, she went after the army and not
She left the civilian population untouched.
Yes. Safe in King's Landing. She strategically went after the actual threat.
Yeah, she's like, you know what I could have done, and I didn't do it. And that's what Jaime said too, like to Bronn. Remember, he's like, if she uses those dragons, really uses them. Yeah.
God damn. So she brings back up the wheel that she wants to break it. She wants to destroy it. That's rolled over the rich and the poor, only to benefit no one but the Cersei Lannisters of this world.
Yep.
I offer you a choice. Bend the knee or die. I mean, that's it. Like, that's your choice.
You're either with us or you're with the terrorists.
And it shows her restraint, but it also shows her ruthlessness.
Yeah, totally. But I mean, what can she do also at the same time? Like Tyrion points out to Varys later, like these people took up arms against her.
Yeah. You know, Varys makes a good point. He's like, well, she didn't have to burn them alive, but it's like, she's the breaker of chains, for Christ's sake. She even says it here. She goes, I'm not putting men in chains. I'm not going to put them up in cells. I gave them a choice. This is their choice. They can follow me or they can die.
Yeah, she's like, together we can leave the world a better place than we found it, she says to them all. She echoes what she had said to Theon and Yara a few episodes ago in Meereen, remember?
Yep,
at the end of season 6.
Yeah, so we get kind of her two main reasons: breaking the political wheel and leaving the world a better place.
Oh! I think it is a pretty big gesture that she's even offering to let them join her, though. Like I was saying before, it's kind of difficult to believe what she's saying, for these people in this scenario, because they're just looking around at the devastation and destruction that she just caused, right? But it is like a pretty big gesture that she's like even willing to give them a chance and to offer mercy to what remains of the army and the enemy army. Yeah.
So I mean, they have to. If they were smart, they have to read into that a little bit, that maybe,
right,
even if not everything she's saying is true, maybe some of it is.
Right. And a couple of them guys actually kneel here.
I'd be like, and I think it kind of goes back to when Arya talks to the Lannister soldiers, like, you know, the boys just go off to fight in someone else's war. Like,
Right.
A lot of those soldiers, they don't give a fuck about the Lannisters. They just happen to be young men that are in the military. It's like, I'm not going to die for this.
And that it plays into that like broken man speech that you get as well, where these men grow up fighting in other people's wars, and eventually they'll break or bend. In this case, like bend the knee.
And clearly, the side with the dragons is likely to win. I mean, let's be real. If you were a soldier,
let's be real here.
If you were a soldier deciding to stay with the Lannisters, or go over to the side with the 3 fucking dragons and the 100,000 Dothraki, I know my choice.
Yeah, totally.
So, like you said, a few people kneel, and we pan into Randall and Dickon Tarly.
Yep, we get a quick little shot of them, showing that they are not kneeling.
They are not kneeling.
And then all of a sudden, Drogon we see. And he fucking lets out a roaring screech, and then most of the people kneel. I was wondering, that it's hilarious, like how the guys don't kneel, and then Drogon roars and they kneel. But I'm amazed at the timing of this, that where like Drogon understands that this is the moment where Dany needs to a little intimidation, and I'm wondering to what degree, like the dragons are supposed to be like super smart, like even smarter than humans, potentially.
I think they understand like language.
Right.
They may not be able to speak language, but they understand it.
Right. So I'm wondering like if Drogon maybe legit understands the common tongue to like a really great degree, and could actually understand all of like the dynamics and nuances of what's happening at this scene, and like recognizes his place as the muscle, basically. You know what I mean? Like,
I think so. I think they're supposed to be super intelligent beings.
Super smart.
Even in our world, like dogs, they can understand up to like 200 words or something crazy like that,
right.
And birds, they are super smart creatures.
Gorillas, like Coco, with like thousands of words.
Just because they can't speak it doesn't mean that they don't understand it.
Right. And understand like the dynamics of like nuances of things that are going on, Yeah,
I mean, even raising a small child, there's Justin's 2.5 now. So his language has advanced. He can speak much better now. But back when he was, a year, 18 months old, he could absolutely understand everything that we were saying to him, but he couldn't really like repeat it back or express himself back in a level of detail that made sense most of the time.
Right. So it's entirely possible that Drogon is totally lucid here.
Totally.
That's so fucking cool, man.
So then we pan back over to the Tarlys, and this is where she goes, "Step forward, my lord. You will not kneel." And Randall, what a dick.
Yeah, he's so dumb. And like,
I already have a queen.
Yeah. And like when she's like, "You'll not kneel," and she's like, "For real, bro? You're not going to kneel?" Like, goddamn. Like,
I'm going to roast you alive.
Really curious to know why. Yeah. Totally going to roast you alive.
So Tyrion obviously recognizes him at some point, because he calls Randall out. That totally. Your allegiances are kind of flexible because Cersei wasn't your queen until recently.
When she murdered your rightful queen and destroyed the house of your bannerman, or of like that you're the bannerman for it. Like, I think that was a pretty poignant point, like she murdered your rightful queen, Cersei did.
Yeah. Why are you supporting her, essentially? Yeah. And Randall, being a stubborn ass that he is, there are no easy choices in war.
Yeah.
Say what you want about your sister. She was born in Westeros. And this is like his kind of like racism, I guess.
Totally. But Dany was born in Westeros too.
His point, though, I think is she was born here and she lived here her entire life.
Oh, got me there.
Realizing that Dany was also born in Westeros.
Yeah, exactly. He hates foreigners.
Has spent, her entire childhood and adult life on the other side of the world. And, sorry, I lost my place. She lived here all her life, basically. And so on the other hand, you murdered your dad and chose to support a foreign invader.
Right.
That was an army of savages at her back. Yeah. And it's like, that's what disgusts him about Dany.
Totally. The foreign, like just all the foreign aspect. Like he just hates foreigners.
Savages.
And this was crazy too, because Randall goes after Tyrion here, like he does to Samwell, like talks down to him and scolds him like he's his child. And considering that Tyrion has been conflicted lately and has been like walking around the battlefield, like all like, like looking horrified and is arguing with Dany and stuff like that. It makes me nervous when people are calling Tyrion out and saying it's a bad decision for Tyrion to be backing Dany. I'm worried that it may they may be planting seeds that may stick with him.
Yeah. And I think, you might be onto something because it was easy for Tyrion to follow Dany in Essos because he wasn't in his home country, and that he saw all the positive stuff that she was doing, and the people that she was killing they didn't matter as much. I mean, of course,
they didn't have Lannister shields.
Yeah. Or even just Westerosi in general, like his countrymen. And now that he's back in his country and seeing his people, on the other side of this, it's really a little bit more real and tangible. And
we even got a hint of that too when that Dothraki came over to take Jon Snow's sword away from him. And just the way that Tyrion was watching the kind of awkward nature of that interaction, having like a foreign army come in and like take away your weapons and stuff.
The Westerosi.
You could tell even that made Tyrion feel a little bit uncomfortable. So here having like the Dothraki slaughtering Lannister troops and having a dragon queen from Essos roasting people alive with a giant dragon, Tyrion's feeling like pretty uneasy.
Yeah, I agree. And so Dany asks him, so you're not going to trade your honor for your life? Okay. I respect that.
Right. Just like Mance Rayder.
And Tyrion's like, maybe he could take the black. He's a true soldier. He would be invaluable at the wall. And Randall.
Fucking idiot.
He's a stubborn fuck.
He's such a fuck.
Why do you want to die over this, dude? Like, what's the point of dying here? What's the point? I don't understand where he's coming from. Yeah. You can't send me to the wall. You are not my queen.
Fucking idiot.
So Dany nods to her Dothraki and they pull Randall away, and Dickon, following stubbornly in his dad's footsteps. You're going to have to kill me too. And Randall is like, step back and shut your mouth. It's like, what? You really think your son's just going to sit there and let this happen?
I know, right?
You're leading by example.
Right. And Dany's like, who is this?
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
I like how she calls him Dickon.
Dickon.
Dickon Tarly.
Dickon
Tarly.
Instead of Dickon.
Mm-hmm.
Well, she's about to be dicking the Tarlys in a minute. She dicks their whole house.
Yeah. So she asks, who are you? And Randall answers, a stupid boy. So does that make you stupid, Randall? Because you're doing the exact same fucking thing.
Yeah.
So you're calling yourself stupid. Okay. You're a complex little creature.
Yeah.
I'm
Dickon Tarly, son of Randall Tarly.
Yeah.
Tyrion's
like, what are you doing?
He looks so disturbed by all of this. He does not like any of this at all.
Yeah.
You're the future of your house. This war has already wiped out one great house from the world. Don't let it happen again. Bend the knee.
Bend the knee. And Dickon looks over at his dad, and
Randall's like, do it.
Randall's like, please just bend the knee. And he goes, I will not.
Tyrion cannot handle this. He's like freaking out.
Yeah. Nothing strips bold notions from a man's head like a few weeks in a dark cell. And he's been in a couple dark cells before, like up at the Eyrie.
King's Landing. The black cells. Talk about dark cells, like the darkest of all cells, the black cells, The
black cells. Yeah, he knows that this works. And she stays true to her word. I meant what I said. I'm not here to put men in chains. That's like not my MO. Like I'm the breaker of chains, in fact. If that becomes an option, many will take it. I gave them a choice. They made it. And how can you argue with that logic?
Yeah, Your Grace, if you begin beheading entire families...
I'm not beheading anyone.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun. It's like, you have a fucking dragon behind you, Tyrion. My guess is that she's not going to be beheading people.
Oh, fuck. And then Tyrion looks over at Drogon and he's just like, like ready to fucking roll.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's right here. At some point in this dialogue, we get an image of Drogon's tail, like taking out trees.
It's
in the
coming
back.
up. I took note of it.
Okay.
I'll mention it. Or I'll point out.
I wasn't sure where it was, but I laughed.
It's
I was
great.
like, oh, damn.
That's so funny.
So she basically just shoos Tyrion off and
turns and looks forward again.
At the Dothraki, and they escort the Tarlys over to a nice little barbecue patch. And all official, she goes, Lord Randall Tarly, Dickon Tarly, I, Daenerys of House Targaryen, first of my name, breaker of chains and mother of dragons, sentence you to die.
That's when the dragon's tail comes in and flattens the bushes, and Tyrion kind of looks over at it like, oh, look, this is terrifying.
This is awful. And then I like how she just says Dracarys. Yes. Like, it's not Dracarys, it's just
Dracarys. So casual. Oh, man, and that gout of flame. Yes. So fucking awesome.
I love it. So they disintegrate.
Yeah, they fall to pieces.
Oh, it's so crazy. It's so hard to watch. And then
so cool.
Basically everyone else kneels. Yeah.
Everybody kneels, and Dany like turns and walks off, and the sad look that Tyrion gives here as she walks away it's so sad. It's like he feels like she's like let him down, like she's not living up to what she could be, and I'm worrying more and more that she's losing him.
Yeah, I think he's very conflicted. Which is natural. I mean,
sure.
This is his house.
It's his home. It's his house. It's his,
So it's going to go one of two ways. He's going to know that Dany is right for the country and just has to like learn to deal with it, or it's going to be too much for him and it breaks him and something bad's going to happen.
Dun, man. Dun. So fucked up.
Yeah. So that's my number 4.
All right. That was a good one.
What's your number 4?
My number 4 is Jorah returns to his queen's service.
Yay!
So funny. So this is at that moment where I'm like, oh man, here comes the question. And Dany asks Jon, when you first came here, Sir Davos said you took a knife in the heart for your people. And Jon's like, Sir Davos gets carried away, and kind of like brushes it off and laughs. And Dany looks a little peeved that he's skirting the question. And she's like, so it was a figure of speech? And before he can answer, they're interrupted by the Dothraki who
do you think
walk up.
Do you think he would have told her the truth here?
I think he probably
would have. Do you think he would
have
lied?
I think he intentionally said Sir Davos gets carried away because he didn't want to lie, but he wanted to make it seem like it wasn't the case, So he sort of cleverly chose his language to, so he's not lying, but he's not like answering directly, So I think he would have told the truth. I think he was just glad that he got interrupted so he didn't have to, basically.
Oh, damn.
So the Dothraki walk up.
It is windy as fuck up there.
Yeah, it is. It always is. So the Dothraki guards walk up, and the leader says, "This man says he is your friend, Khaleesi." And I'm like, "Oh shit, it's Jorah!"
Friend zone.
Yeah, and they step aside, and Jorah strides forth and bows or kneels, and I love how he kneels, like showing her just like utmost respect and devotion, and going through like the tradition of the steps, and what you're supposed to do. I don't know. It's just kind of cool how he does it. But he says, Your Grace, and he stands and sees Jon Snow, and he's like, fuck, I still got no romantic chance. I'm cured. Dario's out of the picture, but it's Jon Snow, and I'm
another man.
Still fucking friend zoned, And Dany,
he mean mugs Jon too.
Yeah, they're like sizing each other up a bit there. And Dany introduces him, Jon Snow. This is Ser Jorah Mormont, an old friend. And Jon like is blown away by this and responds with the proper courtesy for the time for the moment. He's like, oh man, like I served with your father. He was a great man, And Jorah doesn't like really answer him. It's kind of awkward.
Yeah. Jorah must know that he's Ned Stark's bastard too.
I'm sure he does, definitely. So he sees the breastplate and everything like that,
Yeah,
the wolves on it, dire wolves and everything. So Dany's like, you look strong. You found a cure? And I'm like, yeah, he found Sam, Sam was the cure. And that it's too bad he didn't get brought up right at this moment, because that would just be another way for Jorah and Jon to sort of bond a little bit. Yeah. Like, oh shit, you know Sam too? You know what I mean?
I think Jorah probably assumes that no one knows who Sam is here.
Yeah, probably. But if he knew that Jon was the Lord Commander, and he knows that Sam came down from the Night's Watch to learn to be a maester, because do you
think he knows he's the Lord Commander though? Because all Jon says is, I served under your father.
Even if that's the case, like he knows Jor, Sam knows Jor. It's likely that they know each other.
Likely, yeah, that's true. There's only like 50 people at the Wall.
Yeah, exactly. Those forces are so depleted at this era. Jorah's like, I did it. I found a cure. I wouldn't be here if I hadn't, because I wouldn't risk your safety and your health. I love you too much. And he's like, I return to your service, my queen, if you'll have me. And just such a beautiful moment between the two of them. She's like, it would be my honor. And she just goes forward and gives him a big hug. And Jon's like, don't freaking hug my girl, bro. Looking at him.
Jorah looks over at Jon like, ha ha.
Yeah, and Jon looks all serious because it's sunny out and he's like squinting a little bit. It's pretty funny.
And it's so windy. So windy up there.
Just a great moment. So that's it for my number 4. Jorah's back. He's back in his queen's service. And it's just been so long that he's been out of her good graces. And it's just finally good to have him back where he needs to be. And he wastes no time putting himself on the line, stepping up for her when he volunteers to go north later in this episode too.
Yeah.
Too soon for her. She's like, no, not yet. You just got back to me. Yeah, totally. So what's your number 3?
My number 3 is the reunion at Eastwatch.
Nice.
When all the men find out like how much they all hate each other.
Yeah, that's my number 1 too. So perfect.
Oh, nice. Okay, cool. We can collab.
Sounds good. Yeah, such a funny moment, huh?
It is. It's like all of these past vendettas and relationships are all kind of crossing which way, and no one's really focusing on like the main task at hand.
Right. So funny, man.
Yeah. So,
is this our first time seeing Tormund this season? No, we've seen him. Sorry.
We've seen him in the first episode.
Yeah, just last episode when he was like, oh, I'll head to Eastwatch then, or whatever, too.
Yeah, it looks like we're the Night's Watch now.
Yeah, exactly.
So, Tormund leads them kind of into the cells and tells Jon that, his scouts found these people, a mile south of the Wall, but they said that they're on their way here. And so they all look into the cells, and it's Sandor Clegane, Thoros of Myr, and Beric Dondarrion. And Jon immediately recognizes the Hound.
Yeah.
He's like, I saw you at Winterfell.
How crazy is that, right? Just instantly knows it's the Hound. You're the Hound.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he's pretty hard to miss,
Yeah, totally.
Unique. And so Clegane sits up, and Tormund keeps talking to Jon. They want to go beyond the Wall too. And Beric corrects him. He says, we don't want to. We have to.
Yep. And that's just
Our
like
Lord
Jon.
told us.
Like just like he was saying to Dany last episode, he's like, what we're good at. He's like, I don't like doing what I'm good at. Like they don't want to go. They have to. Yeah. Same thing.
And then Gendry pipes in. Don't trust them. Don't trust any of them. They're freaking the Brotherhood. And the last thing their lord told them to do was sell me to a red witch to be murdered.
You know, that red witch that burned the Baratheon princess.
Yeah, burned her alive at the stake, a little girl. And then Jorah's like, Thoros?
Yeah, Jorah hardly recognized you. I was like, oh man, you remember he was fighting with Thoros of Myr way back in the day during the Greyjoy rebellion.
Yeah.
Which we'll learn more about next episode.
Yeah, he ran through the
breach.
The breach with his flaming sword at Pike.
Yeah, Thoros did, totally. Just impressing the shit out of Jorah, which influenced his story that they told to the slavers.
The slavers,
yeah. In Marine. We're like, that's great. Love it.
And then, so then Thoros looks over at Jorah and goes, Sir Jorah Mormont. And Tormund snaps his head around.
You're a fucking Mormont, like the last Lord Commander.
He was my father.
He hunted us like animals.
He returned the favor, as I recall.
So great.
And Beric he's perfect here.
A voice of reason.
Here we all are at the edge of the world at the same moment, heading in the same direction for the same reason.
Yep. And man, this is so cool because this is like a moment that there's like two moments in this episode where we get like microcosms of the Seven Kingdoms. One is at the Citadel with the maesters who are all poo-pooing about the news of the Night King and everything like that, and refusing to believe the news of the enemy threat from the north. And that's one way of like, it's like a microcosm how all the Southern lords, like nobody believes anything that's happening up north. Nobody believes about the threat and everything, so they're not prepared for it. And then here, we have another microcosm of the way that things should go in the Seven Kingdoms, where everybody puts aside their differences and fights together and takes the threat seriously. So he's like, we're all here for the same, go in the same direction at the same moment for the same reason. And Davos is like, our reasons aren't your reasons.
It doesn't matter what our reasons are.
What we think our reasons are.
What we think our reasons are. Yep.
Yeah. And Beric stands up and walks to the front of the cell. And he's like, there's a greater purpose at work and we serve it together, whether we know it or not. And I thought it was interesting that he's standing like directly in front of the Hound at this moment. I thought that maybe it was symbolic for the role that he's playing as like,
I think so,
a protector of the Hound in the future. Who's, yeah, you think so too?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe.
I have that in my notes based off what you've talked about in previous episodes.
Nice.
There was a little bit of, strategic positioning of where they were standing.
Right. Yeah. And so he starts bringing up the Lord of Light again. And Sandor is just like, for fuck's sake, will you shut your hole? Are we coming with you or not? Like, are we going to fight? Let's do something. What the hell?
I'm bored.
Yeah, this is so boring. There's chickens beyond the wall, right?
And so Jorah's like, don't you want to know what we're doing? Jorah's is like, is it worse than sitting in a freezing cell waiting to die?
Yeah. And Jon steps up as usual with the right of it. He's like, he's right. We're all on the same side. Gendry's like, how can that possibly be? How can we be?
We're all breathing.
Yes. I love that line. So fucking epic, man.
And then we get the Magnificent Seven beyond the wall.
Eastwatch 7. Fuck yes. So badass.
I love how this episode is called Eastwatch, but it's really next episode that there's like the big battle.
Oh, right. Well, yeah. Well, that takes place past Eastwatch. That's they get to Eastwatch, right?
Eastwatch is super cool looking. Instead of the big elevator type shaft thing, they have like a series of stairways.
Yeah, like switchbacks. They have that at the Castle Black also, although we don't like really see it on the show. I don't think it's more of like a book
really?
thing. Yeah.
Okay.
There's
That's cool.
There's the stairs and the elevator at Castle Black.
That's cool.
So this was cool because this scene with them all walking out through the Eastwatch gate like this, it reminded me, it sort of paralleled the first scene of the pilot episode of the show where Waymar Royce leads a group of the Night's Watch north to go investigate wildlings being missing from villages and stuff, remember?
Yes, and they walk out of the gate.
Right, except instead of inept Waymar Royce leading the party to its doom, it's Jon motherfucking Snow leading like a hardened group of soldiers basically up north for a mission. It's so cool.
It's amazing.
Yeah, so yeah, just really, really great. Last scene there, I agree.
So are we on your number 3?
I believe so.
Okay.
My number 3 is Trust in a Stranger.
Ooh.
And so we get Jon reading the letter from Bran and learning the truth, learning that the Night King and his army are heading south after Bran has his vision, which we'll talk about later. And he is not stoked about this. And even though he learns at this moment, he's like, I thought Arya was dead. I thought Bran was dead, and he still was like moping. He just got such good news, but it's overshadowed by this horrible stuff that's happening, right? And Dany's like, I'm so happy for you. You don't look happy. It's kind of a funny moment between the two of them.
Yeah, and he's not really ever. Jon Snow doesn't really ever look happy. Very, very rarely.
So this letter must have been like had enough information to let Jon know that not only is Bran alive, but he has visions, because he says Bran saw the Night King and his army marching towards Eastwatch, right? And how could he see that?
Maybe that's not necessarily true though, because Jon knew that Bran was beyond the wall.
Did he?
Yeah, because Sam told him.
Oh,
didn't he?
I don't know. I don't remember if Sam told him or not.
There was a conversation a while back that Jon was talking to someone, and he goes, when I found out that my brother was beyond the wall, I wanted to go out so bad to look for him.
Oh.
So I think I'm almost positive that Jon knew that Bran was beyond the wall.
Okay, so maybe he thought he died again then. Because Sam says later, like, nobody else has survived past the wall for that long. Like a crippled boy, did it. So probably just assumed he was dead again.
I feel
beyond the wall.
I'd have to look back. I'd have to watch it again. I may be wrong.
Yeah, I can't remember. I'm not sure.
I can't remember either, but I feel like he knew that Bran was beyond the wall.
Yeah, I hope so.
But I could just be making that up in my mind. I'm delusional today.
I'll look for it too, like when I'm editing stuff. So Jon's like, if they make it past the wall, like the undead army, which we know happens in the finale in 2 episodes from now, so that's exciting. And Varys is like, the wall has kept him out for thousands of years, presumably. And Jon cuts him off, like realizing the gravity of the situation. He's like, I need to go home. Like, this is like, I gotta go, like shit's
it's
unfolding.
Way too close to home. Yeah. Eastwatch, they're very close.
Yeah, pretty close. And so Dany's like, well, like you said, you don't even have enough men to fight them. And he's like, I just got to do what I got to do. Like, we don't have the men unless you want to join us. Can you kind of help us out? It'd be kind of cool. And Dany's like, I can't. We'd just be giving the country to Cersei. As soon as I leave, she'd just take over the whole south. Yep. Yeah. And Tyrion's like, well, maybe not, and he's got a pretty good idea. Although it turns out he thinks too much of Cersei, right? He thinks that she's more rational than she is. He's like, maybe if we, Cersei thinks that this is all bullshit. Like the army of the dead, she thinks that's just a joke. Like the long night is a tale written to, frighten children into obeying their wet nurses. And then, he's like, what if we prove her wrong, if we capture a white and deliver it to King's Landing and show her that the threat is real and show her that the living, the breathing need to band together. Yeah, bring the dead to her. Pretty cool. And Dany's like, I thought that's what we were trying to avoid, bringing the dead down south. And he's like, no, just one of them, just one, not the whole army. Davos doesn't even know if that's possible. He's like, dude, can we even bring them past the wall? Because the wall is supposed to be like this magical barrier. And Jon brings up that, the first one he ever saw was brought into Castle Black from beyond the wall. So maybe like Like maybe when you touch them or something, like that, how Bran got touched by the Night King and then he was able to enter the cave. Maybe if you let them in by like contact with them or something, then you can, maybe then they can get in. I don't know, get past the wall or something. I don't know. Just a thought. So Varys is skeptical that Cersei will even agree to meet them and not just try to kill them all.
We're all presuming that Cersei will not murder us the moment we set foot into the capital.
Right. And Tyrion's like, well, the only person she listens to is Jaime, and Jaime may listen to me. And Dany's like, well, how would you even get into King's Landing? And everybody stops and looks over at Davos. We got a smuggler in the room.
Onion Knight.
Yeah. And he's like, I can smuggle you in, but if the gold cloaks were to recognize you, I'm warning you, I'm not a fighter. I'm not a fighter. I can't remember how he says it. But yeah, you know what I'm saying. We were talking about that earlier.
Yeah.
Hilarious. And Tyrion's like, shit, well, you know, we kind of just got to do what we got to do, right?
Dany's kind of concerned about this. She's like, well, if we don't get one of these dead men, it's going to be all for nothing.
Right. And this is where Jorah steps up and volunteers to go north and take one. I'm like, oh my
Queen's
God.
Permission.
Yeah.
I'll go north and take one.
So sick, dude.
Damn.
And he looks cool, man. He's got some sweet armor on. I like his armor in this scene.
Me too.
Looks really cool. And I'm just like, wow, like he is stepping up to do some ballsy shit for his queen.
Because he kind of looked a little vagabondish when he approached Dany up on the cliff. He looked a little rough, like he'd been traveling.
It's kind of mindful of Barristan when he arrived to meet Dany too, with his traveler's cloak and stuff.
Yeah, and so he's cleaned up.
Yep.
He looks good.
Yeah, looks healthy and good. Good to see.
He looks so much like my uncle. It's so funny.
Right. And Dany's like, she's like, looks at him like, oh, like you can't go yet. And for something so dangerous, I just got you back in the friend zone. And, and Jorah's like, you asked me to find a cure so I could serve you. Allow me to serve you, Khaleesi. Let me do it. This is why I did everything that I did, so I can step up and put myself on the line for you. You know? And she's like, oh, and just realizes it's true. And this is when Jon steps up too and puts it all on the line as well. And he's like, the free folk will help us. They know the real North better than anyone. And
they're not going to follow Ser Jorah,
right.
says Davos.
Yeah. And Jon's like, they won't have to. And Dany looks at Jon and she's like, she just looks so pained at the idea of losing both Jorah and Jon in one volley. She's just like mortified, horrified by this, like what's unfolding here in this scene. All of her favorite people, you know, like flying away, riding away. And Davos is like, this is madness. You can't lead a raid beyond the wall. You're the fucking king in the North now. You're not a Night's Watch, like fucking ranger or something like that. Like,
yeah, you have an important role to play. Right. You're a king. But Jon's like, dude, I'm the only one here that spot them. I'm the only one here that knows them. Like, it has to be me. I have to go.
And Dany's like, I haven't given you permission to leave yet.
With respect, your grace, I don't need your permission. I am a king.
Yeah, it kind of reminded me of when she first got reunited with Jorah and found out that he had grayscale, and he went to leave, and she was like, I haven't granted you permission to leave yet.
Yeah. Nice.
All sad and shit. So funny. Yeah, Jon's not having it. And I think she likes that too, that she's like, ooh, he's a real man. You know, he's like not putting up with any of my bullshit.
I love what he says here, though. He goes, I came here knowing that you could have your men behead me or your dragons burn me alive. I put my trust in you, a stranger.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Because I knew it was the best chance for my people. Now I'm asking you basically to do the same. It's the best chance for all of us.
Yeah, it's our best chance. And this echoes what that Lannister soldier said to Arya a couple weeks ago. Remember? My mother said to be kind to strangers and they'll be kind to you.
Oh, yeah. Nice little parallel there.
Yeah, I like that. He's like trusting a stranger in the hopes that they'll trust him when it comes down to it. And, you know, the same type of
and she looks
thing.
So pained.
She looks so just horrified. And like when she said, I haven't given you permission to leave, I forgot to mention, he says, "With respect, Your Grace, I don't need your permission. I'm a king." And it made me think, any man who has to say he's a king.
I thought that too.
But he doesn't end up being king for very long because he bends the knee, right? So it kind of fits. He's not a king, you know? So that's funny. Yeah, she just looks horrified by this, right?
Yeah, totally.
So sad. And she just like pauses,
nods her head.
Nods like, oh, like reluctantly.
She's gritting her teeth.
Yeah. And this, yeah, that pretty much, you know, that's it for my number 3, I think, is just trust in a stranger. I thought that was really poignant. And I liked that parallel with the Arya scene with the Lannister soldier. It's just kind of cool.
Nice. So are we on my number 2?
Yes.
Okay. My number 2 is Sam and Gilly.
Ooh, revelations.
In the 15,782 steps.
so many ships. I mean, steps.
Clearly, Gilly is much better at reading now, and it's fascinating to her to learn about really kind of anything.
Yeah.
You know, reading all this stuff out of a book, it's, you know, she's
excelling.
Amazed that there are 15,782 steps in the Citadel.
That's nuts. Well, I think that what they've done on the show, it seems they're talking about all these steps. It seems like the giant tower that we saw in the other episode where all the white ravens were getting released from actually is part of the Citadel on Game of Thrones. Yeah, in the show. Whereas in the books, that would be a white tower. Sorry, the high tower. But yeah, here with all these steps, what else is there that could possibly have that many steps? It's the Citadel. And the way that they have the library, it's like a giant circular structure that's way tall. So it's got to be that whole inside of that giant tower. That's the library.
I think you're right. I think they probably combined it because the high towers are not a part of the Game of Thrones.
Right.
So no one, I mean, unless you're a book reader,
you wouldn't know that. And yeah, they never, like, the script that we're reading says something about the tower of the Citadel as we get to the part where Sam leaves later. So I was thinking, oh, maybe like on the show, this is part of the Citadel. The script
says the Citadel can be seen with a torch burning bright at the top of the tallest tower.
Right. Yeah.
So they combined it just for the show purpose.
Yeah, it seems so. Unless there's another even taller tower somewhere else that we just haven't seen. Which would be the high tower. But yeah, it seems like a combination of the two.
Yeah, I think so. And so Sam looks up at Gilly and he's totally annoyed.
So annoyed. That is amazing, though. That's a lot of steps. Like, she's right to be blown away by that.
Yeah, that's a ton of steps. And I think he's not really annoyed at her. I think he's extremely frustrated that the maesters are not listening to him. Yeah. And he's feeling very helpless. And she's over here talking about steps. And he's like, no one is taking this shit seriously except for me.
Yeah, and he's mad because they have him looking through these dumb fucking books when he thinks that all the answers to the important questions are like in that hidden room.
When really they're in Gilly's hands.
Right. It's so funny. I'm trying to find my notes on this part. I have it right now. Sorry, you can keep going on with it.
Oh, that's okay. So she goes, guess how many windows there are in the Great Sept of Baelor? He's like, well, none anymore. She goes, that's true.
Oh my God.
This High Septon Maynard, he recorded everything. He even recorded his own bowel movements.
Yeah, that's actually really funny. We get more details about that in the books. That's like a great little book reference. Yeah, this is true. Well, almost. The details are a little bit different in the books. I actually found the quotes. It's from A Feast for Crows, Samwell, chapter 1. And I believe it's when he's in the library at Castle Black. And he's looking through all the books in there. And there's a little mouse that's trying to eat pieces of the books. And he's freaking out because he doesn't want to hurt the mouse, who's just a poor little guy, but he doesn't want it to destroy the books. So the quote is as follows. It's such a little thing, though, and hungry. How could he begrudge it a few crumbs? It's eating books, though. After hours in the chair, Sam's back was stiff as a board, and his legs were half asleep. He knew he was not quick enough to catch the mouse. but it might be he could squash it. By his elbow rested a massive leather-bound copy of the Annals of the Black Centaur, Septon Jorquin's exhaustively detailed account of the 9 years that Orbert Caswell had served as Lord Commander of the Night's Watch. There was a page for each day of his term, and every one of which seemed to begin, Lord Orbert rose at dawn and moved his bowels, except for the last, which said, Lord Orbert was found to have died during the night. Classic.
At least he didn't shit after he died. And so then we get...
that's true. The irony question of that. Like, he wouldn't be able to record his last bowel movement. Oh, that's so fucked up. The irony.
Oh, crazy. So this is where we get the question that shakes everyone to the core.
Yes.
What does annulment mean?
It's when a man sets aside his lawful wife.
Maynard says here that he issued an annulment for a Prince Rhaegar.
Oh my
God. And
God.
remarried him to someone else at the same time in a secret ceremony in Dorne.
Is that a common thing? Very uncommon. And it's so funny. Sam seems like he's really focusing intently on what she's saying, but really he's just focused on how he's so annoyed. And it's like not until later on or something that does he realize what she said when he's like replaying it in his head or something.
And we see his frustration come out here because he interrupts her because these maesters, they sent me a task of preserving that man's window counting and annulments. He even repeats it.
Yeah.
Bowel movements for all eternity, while the secret to defeating the Night King is probably sitting on some dusty shelf somewhere completely ignored.
And I'm like, dude,
That's
you literally
right.
just ignored a secret that may be important to defeating the Night King.
I have that note too.
Yeah, he's talking about a secret being ignored. Well, he's ignoring a secret. The secret that Jon Snow is Aegon Targaryen that may be the key factor in uniting all of the southern armies together to ride north to be able to handle the Night King. This may be the thing that solidifies the southern army. So like this, I just thought that was so funny that he's talking about this secret to defeating the Night King being ignored while he's literally ignoring a secret like that.
Yeah. And he just gets so pissed. He's like, we could all become slavering, murderous imbeciles enthralled to evil incarnate as long as we can have access to the full records of High Septon Maynard's 15,782 shits.
Steps. That number was steps.
And he looks so dismayed.
And she's just smiling, like, just so innocently. Like, she's so cute in that moment.
They just uncovered the most incredible secret on the planet.
I know.
And they just, like, gloss over it. And it's like, oh, my God.
Yeah, at some point, Sam's got to be like, wait. Prince Rhaegar, annulment in Dorne, the Tower of Joy? Like, oh, my God. What did we just learn?
He puts it all together when he talks to Bran.
Right. Oh, yeah.
Bran's like, he's really a Sand. He was born in Dorne.
And he's like, oh my God.
You know, no, he's not. He's
a Targaryen.
He's a Targaryen. And Sam's like, are you sure? He goes, well, why would this High Septon, it was his private diary.
Right.
Like there was
and that's
no
when
reason.
That's when Bran's like, wait, let me go back and review the footage again. And he goes back to Dorne and like gets up close and listens when Lyanna's whispering the name to Ned, you know?
His name is Aegon Targaryen.
Robert will kill him if he finds out. You know it.
Oh man. So Sam is just done. He puts the quill down. He grabs all the books and hands them to he grabs the book he was writing in and hands it to little Sam. And he gets his cloak and he walks out the door. And Sam, we cut to the library. So he's walking and it's dark.
He's going into full thief mode here.
Yeah, he's done. He's donezoed. He's going into the restricted section. He unlocks the gate and he just starts pulling shit off the shelves.
Yeah. Anything he thinks could be useful, he's just grabbing. He's like, anything that could potentially be valuable for this stuff. He's like, oh, this is about the Long Night, taking it. Oh, that's about, like Beyond the Wall, taking it.
And then he goes to leave and he pauses just for a brief moment and he turns around And he glances back at the library.
What was your interpretation of the look on his face at this moment?
I think he always wanted to be a maester. He's always wanted to see this library. This is the life that he kind of wanted to live. And I feel like he feels that he has to abandon his dream to continue his purpose to help Jon defeat the Night King.
Yeah.
That he just has to let it go.
That's a good interpretation. There's a couple other angles, I think, too, that may be partially at play.
What do you think?
I think yours may be the most significant, which I hadn't even really considered, but I thought that he may have also felt like he was sort of disrespecting this like Mecca type location by stealing books from it. So he was feeling like
guilty,
a sense of sadness, both in that he's disgracing the Citadel by stealing from it, and I think that he feels like that like the useless maesters are disgracing the Citadel as well by not taking the threat seriously and like not doing everything they could and utilizing the power and the archives and information of the Citadel for good and to repel the threat from the north.
Yeah.
So I think, there's like a bunch of stuff going on potentially, but I think that's the big one is that he's like, fuck, I always wanted to be here. And now like, I can't leave. But then again, he's like, I'm done like reading of other better men's accomplishments. Right. So maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
I think there's a few things at play here.
Definitely.
I think he would be fine reading about better men's accomplishments under different circumstances, but there's no time to do that right now. He feels like he has his mission and he has to kind of abandon his dream.
Sure. Did that line ring a bell for you at all? The better men's accomplishments?
Randall Tarlys says that to him at the dinner table.
Yeah, exactly. So I thought that was kind of interesting. He's like being influenced by his father still or something.
Yeah.
But he is one of the better men, so it'll be interesting to see the books that are written about his exploits.
Yeah. So then we cut to the outside of the Citadel and they're loading up the wagon and Gilly and Sam are kind of already up and they're dressed for the road and Sam climbs in and grabs the reins and Gilly asks him, are you sure you want to do this? You've always wanted to be a maester. Yep. And that's where we get the line.
Yeah.
And Sam, I think he glances up at the burning tower.
Oh yeah,
and then,
totally.
And then rides off. And it was like one last look of just like letting go because he has a bigger purpose to fulfill right now than becoming a maester.
Yeah, definitely pretty interesting.
Yeah. So that was my number 2.
Nice.
It's my number 2 because of the huge revelation that we discovered.
Oh, I thought it was your number 2 because of all the bowel movements.
Sam and his shit problems.
Yeah. Sam and the Citadel and poo.
And poop.
Classic. So my number 2 is when Gendry actually meets Jon.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So earlier we had gotten Davos telling Gendry, like, the situation is already complicated enough. We don't want to have you talking about being the bastard son of Robert Baratheon, like adding to all the confusion and the dynamics. And as they're approaching the cave, but now at Dragonstone again, the Dragonglass cave, Davos is basically reinforcing this message. He's like, the king's got a lot on his mind, right? We're leaving today. Gendry's like, I understand. You don't have to worry. He's just saying, understood. I understand. You don't have to worry. Davos is like, he doesn't need to be thinking about harboring the bastard of a dead king. You're just Clovis, a smith who's come to pay his respects. Yeah, a smith who's come to pay his respects before he heads off to work at the Winterfell forges. So I love how Davos is just trying to save Gendry here, to get him out of King's Landing, get him someplace with allies where he'll be safe and do his thing. And, Davos is just such a good guy. And given the fact that Robert and Ned were friends, Winterfell would be a perfect place for him to feel safe potentially. And Gendry seems to understand this better than Davos, as he's like telling him to just shut your fucking mouth and be Clovis, right? Literally the first thing he says when he meets Jon. Davos sees Jon, begging your pardon, your grace. And he's glad to see that he's survived King's Landing and going to bring Tyrion over there, and he's returned. And he starts to introduce Gendry. He's like, "Your Grace, this is Clovis," and he's just like, "It's Gendry, Your Grace." Just totally comes out with it. I'm Robert Baratheon's son. Well, bastard son. And Jon looks over at Davos like, what the fuck is going on here? Like, what the hell? And Davos is honest about it. He's like, he was meant to keep that to himself. Like, he outright says, like, he was going to lie to you. You know, like, I told him to lie, basically. And I
think Jon trusts Davos enough, though.
Yeah, I do too. Yeah.
That he was trying to protect him from additional stress because it's already a very stressful situation.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's understandable, yeah. So Gendry is so cool, man. He's like, our fathers trusted each other. Why shouldn't we? And I'm just like, oh man, that's so beautiful and innocent and just like it's so like such a like, northern type of attitude, kind of, you know, simple and to the point and true. And this was funny too, because he's like, our fathers trusted each other, right? Why shouldn't we? And I'm like, oh shit. As awesome as that is, it's not true at all. Technically, Jon's father sort of betrayed your father.
Yeah.
And then your father sort of killed his father and prevented Jon from ever even being able to meet his father. So a little bit of drama there. Because Jon's father isn't Ned, who he thinks it is. It's Rhaegar, and Robert and Rhaegar were enemies. Hilarious. And they sort of have this funny back and forth where Jon's like, oh, I saw your father once at Winterfell. And Gendry's like, hey, I met yours in my smith shop. And Jon's like, you're a lot leaner than your
What does that remind you of?
Oh, I forget. It's something from a long time ago, right? I remember having known it at the time when this aired.
It's when Robert Baratheon goes up to Ned Stark.
Oh, and they hadn't seen each other in forever.
You got fat.
You got
and
old.
Ned kind of like looks at his stomach, like pot calling the kettle black.
Yeah, totally. Oh, no, yeah. Ned says, you got old. And Robert goes, you got fat. And Ned looks at his belly.
Oh, that's right. That's what it was. So this little banter here is mimicking of that. Yeah. You know, you're a lot leaner. Well, you're a lot shorter. You're a lot shorter.
And I'm like, damn, because Sean Bean's like not a tall guy, is he? I don't know. Let's look this up real quick. Sean Bean's 5'10".
That's not short. That's pretty tall.
And Kit Harington is like 5'8", allegedly.
Okay. Allegedly.
It's like Arnold Schwarzenegger is like allegedly 6'2", but everybody who's met him in person says he's like 5'10", 5'11".
Yeah.
There's like a big like conspiracy about it, theory about it. It's funny. So yeah, I love this back and forth between the two of them, and they kind of like, it's like for a second there's a little bit of tension, you know, and Jon's smile fades away when Gendry says he's a lot shorter, and then they both like start laughing, and they like, it's like, oh, these guys are like meant to be brothers, like hanging out with each other. You know, I just thought like, I was like, oh, Jon has like a peer, you know, like somebody who's his age and his, like his
understands what it's like to be a bastard of a nobleman.
Exactly. So I was just like, man, this is cool, man. There could be legends written about this combo, and eventually, you know,
totally.
So Jon's like, oh, they're laughing, and Jon's like, I grew up on hearing stories about them being together, and Gendry's like, all I ever knew was that they fought together and won. And I'm thinking, i.e., that means we can too. You know, he's saying like together we can be powerful just like they were. And he's like, Sir Davos told me where you're going. Let me come with you. And Davos is like, dude, what the fuck? I'm trying to save you. You know, and you're like,
you're not going beyond the wall.
He's like, now you're even more likely to die. You were fine in King's Landing for at least another week. You know, and now he's like going off beyond the wall like an idiot. And
Davos is like, don't be a fool. You're not a soldier.
Right. And he's like, you know, but I am a fighter. And Jon Snow doesn't need a smith he's not going to be needing a smith with a sword like that. Look at that. As a smith, he recognizes a badass sword when he sees one. You know? Yeah. And Jon's like, do you know how to use a sword? And he's like, no. And John's like,
that's a problem.
Yeah, I prefer a hammer.
Boom.
Yeah. And Davos vouches for him. He can handle himself after that display on the beach before with that wild hammer, those wild hammer swings. So nice. John's like stoked about it.
John's like, we could use the help.
Fuck yeah. And Davos is still trying to convince him not to go. He's like, as my father used to say, it's better to be a coward for a minute than to be dead for the rest of your life.
It reminded me of when he goes, don't mind me, I've just lived to a ripe old age.
Yeah, that's like his next line, I think. Yeah.
Oh, that is this episode. Oh, how funny.
It's so funny. Gendry is appreciative to Davos, though. He recognizes that he's saved his life twice, once from the Red Woman and then the second time, like from the madness in King's Landing, getting him back out. Poor Davos, he just doesn't want to see Gendry get hurt. He's trying to save all the Baratheon kids that he can,
The only one that's left that we know of.
Yeah. So that's it. All I got for number 2. How about you? Anything else you want to add about that?
No, I'm glad that Gendry and Jon are together. I think they have a deep understanding of each other right off the bat.
Yeah.
You can just tell that they instantly connect.
Yeah, it's funny. I've had moments like that before where I'll meet somebody and like immediately be like best friends with them. Yeah. All right. So I think that was my number 2. We already covered my number 1. What's your number 1?
My number 1 is Baelish is still alive.
Oh, snap. Bae gives a girl a coin.
Yes. Yes.
You're going to get to talk about your theory now, huh?
Yeah. It's a theory. He could very well be dead. And I was super excited. I called it when the scene where he actually dies. I called it at the very beginning when Sansa started naming all the crimes. I looked over at Dave and I was like, she's talking about Lord Baelish. Like, he's going to die here and now.
Yeah, and he's like, no way.
Yeah, and then, slice. But what caught me kind of off guard the second time I watched season 7 was Littlefinger has never begged for his life.
Right.
He didn't beg for his life when Jon was strangling him. He didn't beg for his life when Ned was strangling him. He really didn't do anything when Cersei had her guards threaten him, take 2 steps back, seize him, all that stuff.
Yep.
And he quivers like a little boy in his death scene. And it's just so out of character for him. And then the third time I watched season 7, I finally was watching it where I could have the volume up higher, because we usually watch it at night and Justin's room's right next to our living room. So we try to keep the volume kind of low.
Right.
When he hands that maiden what looks like payment, because at first you could probably think she's one of his spies, and he's paying her.
Yep.
But before he hands her the coin, she says, your time's up.
Oh, what the hell?
And yeah. And I was like, your time is up. And this is right after, last episode when Bran says, chaos is a ladder.
Right.
I think so here's where I go with my theory. I think when Bran said that, Baelish realized that he's in danger. And I forgot to mention too, that when he doesn't, he never begs for his life. Even when he talks to Sansa and she goes, even now, I could have Brienne cut you down.
Mm-hmm.
And he basically says, then I'll die.
Right. Right. Yeah, he's ready to die type thing.
He never
wavers or quivers.
Concerns. Yeah. He just stays even keeled. And so when he talks to Sansa about imagining everything the worst thing that could happen, then you're always prepared. Well, the worst thing that could happen to Lord Baelish is Sansa turning her back on him and wanting to kill him.
And he's had reason to suspect that.
Yeah. And we have also the scene with Baelish watching Arya fight Brienne, and Arya kind of like looks up at him and he kind of like nods and bows at her.
Like, I know those tactics. I know your fighting style. Ooh.
We also back a few seasons ago discover that Lord Baelish's family is from Bravos.
His sigil, his father's sigil was the Titan of Bravos.
Yeah, and talking about sigils, he created his own sigil, which is a mockingbird.
Yes.
And mockingbirds take on the sound of other birds. And what do faceless men do?
Ooh, they take on the faces of other birds.
Of other people. So I started thinking to myself, and actually Sir Patrick sent me this awesome video, which I didn't even know existed. And it kind of like better explains it than I'm doing now. But basically, Baelish is concerned that Sansa wants him dead. He realizes when Bran tells him that chaos is a ladder, that Bran can see things that no one else could have seen.
Mm-hmm.
And then he goes to his faceless man spy and hands her an iron coin after she says, your time is up. And she takes his place. And we have seen that the faceless man can wear
living people's faces
of living people.
Right, like Arya.
And her death pays for Baelish's life, which is what Jaqen H'ghar says. And we hear that a lot in this whole series, is only death can pay for life.
So the faceless man dies in Baelish's place, and that gives him a second chance.
Yes. So the reason why we see him groveling at his death scene is because it's not Baelish.
Right.
It's the faceless man. Now, I will say the only thing other than just his pure survival is how is he going to like come back into the fold? He's declared himself for House Stark. He doesn't have his own army, and Cersei's pissed off at him. So that would be my only like chink in my own theories. Excuse me, my own theories armor. Like, where does he go from here? So, I mean, Littlefinger is the slimiest, smartest, most kind of conniving character, and he's really been the one that has driven the story forward as far as like the drama, like pinning the Lannister and the Starks. So it seemed too easy for him to die like this way. Like he would have he's weaseled his way out of everything else.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how could he not weasel his way out of this too?
Yeah.
How could he have not seen this coming? So that's why this is my number one, because while he could very well be dead or could be alive, the question remains, you know. Even George R.R. Martin says, you know, like the main character of the story, like, doesn't have to be loved or likable. They just have to be interesting. And that's what Baelish has kind of been this whole time, is this really interesting character that does things kind of out of the ordinary and propels the story forward. So we may not see him again, but we may.
It would be so cool.
Curious.
If we did. Oh man.
Like all of a sudden he shows up and, you know, like kills Cersei out of the blue, and the whole kingdom falls to the Night King, and he's finally King of the Ashes, which is what Varys calls him in front of the Iron Throne back in season 1.
Oh, damn.
Will you be King of the Ashes? You know, you'd very well be King of the Ashes if you could just sit on that throne.
Damn.
So, also, he has tricked Arya in this scene to spy on him, spying on her.
Right. How crazy is that?
Which causes, you know, Arya to find the scroll.
Do you think that she doesn't know that he knows she's spying on him? Like, do you think she's actually falling for this, or do you think that she's playing into his game?
Like, she's spying on him, spying on her, spying on him.
Yeah. Yeah.
Could very well be. I think Arya is very confident in her faceless man's skills, but she hasn't spent a lot of time around Baelish. So I'm not sure she really realizes what a slimy snake he is.
Yeah.
And that's hard for me to say, but it could be possible. So, yeah, I mean, we can talk about like she's spying on him. She sees, this is what's interesting too in my theory. Arya sees him give her the coin.
Right. And she knows like about faceless shit,
yes.
faceless stuff.
So that's kind of another kind of little hole in my theory is if Arya heard her say your time's up and he hands her a coin, that might cue her into, you know, maybe he's using a faceless man. And it's hard to tell, but it would be really cool to see Baelish again in season 8. Yes.
Gotta love Bay.
Yeah. But, you know, we cut down to the courtyard and Baelish is talking to Lord Glover and Lord Royce, and we cannot hear what they're saying.
Right, unfortunately.
I turned it up super, super loud. Can't hear what they're saying. And Arya kind of disappears behind the corner and continues kind of stalking Baelish, and she's walking down the hallway and she overhears Baelish talking to Maester Wolken.
Yeah.
That Wolken has found the scroll.
It took some researching. Maester Lewin's archives are thorough.
And he says, are you sure this is the only copy in Winterfell?
Yeah, and I was thinking, like, why would Wolken even be doing this for Baelish? Looking through the archives of the scrolls of Winterfell for an outsider? Why would Wolken even do this without knowing for sure that Sansa had given approval?
That's a good question, because Baelish does say Lady Stark thanks you for your service.
Right, and he's just taking Baelish's word for it. And obviously, he says that to lure Sansa in. Sorry, Arya, because it's the letter that Sansa had written to Robb, basically from when she was in King's Landing. You know, like father was a traitor. Come down here and bend the knee, etc. So Baelish is saying it was on Sansa's behalf, locating this last copy of this to make Arya think that Sansa's trying to cover up the information on the scroll.
Because he knows that she's around the corner listening.
Yeah, exactly.
He knows that she's there because then, you know, Baelish goes into his room and then comes back out of the room and then shuts the door because he's going to hide it in the mattress.
Yep.
And I think Arya thought to look there because go back to the conversation with Tyrion and Sansa that Arya used to hide sheep shit in.
Oh, sheep shift
in Sansa's mattress. So Arya knows.
Wait, that was Tyrion and Sansa talking.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's how she knows about this. So
that's why she's kind of looks like, you know, maybe other people cut holes in their mattresses to hide shit in.
Right. That's funny. That's so funny. Sheep shift.
Because then Arya goes into Baelish's room and looks around. When she walks back out, Baelish is stalking her.
Oh, son of a bitch.
And I don't think Arya knows that he's there.
Yeah, that's the impression we get. We're definitely supposed to think she doesn't know. Whether or not she knows is another matter. Yeah. Because to what degree are the Stark girls playing Peter Baelish here? You know what I mean?
Well, what I kind of noted is anytime that they have a tense conversation, they are in a public place or the door is open.
Oh, in Sansa's chambers or
yes,
later in this episode. Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, like you've always liked nice things, and
the door's open so his spies or
Littlefinger can hear their conversation.
Yeah, good call. Yeah, that's what I'm wondering is like what amount of this is just acting between the two as they're trying to just set him up so they can take him out.
I think they do it on purpose in public places.
Nice. I like that idea. I hope that's true.
Yeah, so that's, kind of my number one. I like the theory. It's funny, after Sir Patrick sent me the video, he actually tagged it in one of our Facebook feeds.
Nice.
So it's out on our page somewhere. But, it's a good theory. They explain it way better in the video than I did, but it solidified a lot of what I picked up on over the few times that I have watched season 7. Mm-hmm. And it'll just be interesting to see how it plays out. There are certainly some holes in the theory, and, he could actually be dead, but there's a lot riding on that he could possibly be alive. I mean, why would that girl say your time is up? What's the point of knowing that Baelish has ties to Braavos? And we know that he has other ties to Braavos too, because he was always coming up with money randomly when he was
true.
The treasure, what's the name of
the Master of Coin.
Master of Coin. So, they would say like, oh, Littlefinger would just snap his fingers and money would appear.
Yeah, maybe he had
supposedly he was borrowing it from the crown, but maybe he was borrowing it from the Iron Bank. So we'll see. My only big question to my own theory, or this theory, I guess other people have picked up on it too, is other than pure survival of just not dying, how could he pop back into the show? Where would he fit in?
Yeah, good question.
8.
Good question. I think it'd be awesome to get him back. It'd be such a twist, like right at the end, like he pops out and does some
murders
crazy shit.
Cersei.
Yeah, your brother, and pushes Cersei off the Red Keep or something.
Damn. Yeah.
Oh man.
So yeah, that's my number one.
Oh, maybe
kind of a different number one.
Maybe Jaime will kill Cersei, but then it'll be Littlefinger with Jaime's face on, and then he'll pull it off and be like, "Your brother, you know who you thought I was, Cersei?" And he pushes her and then takes off the mask. Your brother.
Damn. We shall see. We shall see. So, did we already do your number one?
We did. My number one was all the people being reunited.
Oh,
up at the wall again.
Up at the Eastwatch. Yep. Cool.
Although there was one little bit of that we didn't talk about, which was just when Jon and crew arrive at Eastwatch and first run into Tormund, and Tormund learns that Jon is planning on going north of the wall, and he says to Davos, "Isn't it your job to talk him out of stupid fucking ideas like this?"
Yeah.
I've been failing at that job of late. Oh, nice. Man, I love all these characters coming together, just like these combinations you never would have imagined so many years ago. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and Tormund's like, how many queens are there? 2. And you need to be convinced that the one with the dragons or the one who fucks her brother.
Both. How many men did you bring?
And he looks at the table like, this is it.
The big woman. Yeah. And I love Jon's reaction too. He smiles. He loves the way that Tormund loves Brienne. He loves it.
Yeah.
It's great. I don't know why people think it's inappropriate or something. Like if Brienne was bothered by it, she would say something, or she would pummel him. That's what she does.
I think she is bothered by it,
but I'm not super bothered. Yeah, I think it's innocent, I
think it's totally innocent.
Yeah, I think he just thinks that she's like a living goddess, everything he would imagine the perfect woman to be is Brienne, basically. I love that picture where it's this strong guy, standing up tall with the woman crouched down, holding onto his leg, adoringly looking up at him, but the faces are reversed and it's Brienne is the strong guy and Tormund is the little woman. I posted that on Facebook the other day.
Yeah.
So funny. I love that picture.
That's so funny.
So So Davos is like, he's like, well, you guys are going north. I'll be staying behind. I'm a liability. And Tormund's like, yes, you are. Davos is like, well, thanks. It's so funny. It reminded me of too when Davos pulls out the sword and he's like, I apologize for what you're about to see when Jon is dead. And Tormund looks at Jon and he's like, what the? You really want to go out there again up north? And Jon's like, yeah, I have to, you know. And Tormund's like, well, you're not the only ones. And that's when we go to see Houndy Hound and crew.
Yep. Clegane.
Yes, Clegane. Definitely.
Gross.
So shall we move on to notes?
Yes.
Oh, I forgot to mention before when we were talking about the scroll. That's total Rick and Morty style.
I mean, we got to get the hell out of here and go take care of business. It's important. Come on, Morty.
No, Rick. Rick will be talking in mid-sentence. He'll just throw a big burp out and like, you can just continue talking. Oh, I forgot what I was thinking is that scroll that Sansa had written about how Ned conspired with Robert's brothers against Joffrey and tried to steal the throne and everything. Who is it? Lewin had said Sansa's hands, Cersei's words.
Oh, yeah, right? That's right.
I thought that was just like a kind of a cool little quote that people at the time, Arya wasn't there, you know, and didn't have that information, that it was clear at the time that, yeah, Sansa had written the letter, but it was Cersei who was telling her what to say. So out of context and without that interpretation from the wise maester of the time, if Arya reads this now, it could easily seem like Arya had betrayed the family. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
Okay, so what are we moving on to notes now?
Notes.
What do you got first? Beginning of the episode?
I have the beginning of the episode.
Nice. As if Jaime and Bronn could have survived that.
Yeah.
I mean, they're in the middle of a giant battle. There's thousands, like you said, like 100,000 Dothraki everywhere. There's like, you know, all like just people everywhere. They had jump into a lake or into this river right next to the freaking dragon and pop up like a mile away.
And Bronn somehow can drag Jaime's 500-pound armor up to the surface.
Right. Yeah. So none of this is like believable. This is one of the bigger flaws in this series as well, I would say, just the believability of this little transition here.
I have to agree.
A, that the water was so deep. B, that Daenerys and her team of thousands of people and scouts didn't see them trying to leave when he had just attempted to assassinate the queen. You know, that Drogon didn't just like fucking roast them when they popped up for air. You know, like it's not like I
think they got carried down the river a little bit.
It must have,
because they pop up and the smoke is like way in the background.
But if you look at the end of the last episode, they're just floating straight down. They're not being taken by the current at all.
That's true.
Like if the current was dragging them down the river at the end of the last episode, it would be more believable. But not only does he have to counteract the weight of the armor to carry Jaime back up to the surface, but he also has to swim laterally away far enough so that Drogon doesn't spot them, come back up for air, and finish the job of taking out this guy who just tried to fucking kill his mama.
Yep, that's true.
So yeah, whatever. Well, it is what it is. It's just kind of funny. You got to throw in criticism where it's deserved, right? We can't just praise it all the time.
I'm glad we do that, because while it's overall a pretty perfect show, there are some little holes in places, and naturally with any TV series, you're going to get that. For sure. So Bronn drags Jaime up to the surface, and then they swim to the edge of the bank of this river, the Blackwater Rush, and he pulls him up onto the shore. They climb up onto the shore, and Jaime's on his back, and he says, "You could have killed me." And I'm wondering, what the fuck is he talking about? What are you talking about?
Like, does he mean like, I know you're sick of me, you could have left me for dead? Like, or is he saying like, you could have killed me by dumping me into the water in my armor? Because he was about to die anyway.
I think that is what he's referencing.
So he's
here.
just,
but it's like, you're going to get crisped alive by a dragon or drowned.
So he's just like delusional, kind of like Cersei in his own way here, like not acknowledging various elements of truth. I guess. So Bronn's like, what the fuck were you thinking, dude? Jesus, you just charged a dragon. And Jaime's...
Did you not see the dragon in between you and her?
Yeah, and he's just like, looks, he's like, dude, he looks like he was ready to die, you know, like, damn, like, pretty intense, man. He's like, ending the war by killing her. That's what I was trying to do. And it's just like the Checky Lion, like we talked about last week, like that Osgrey had to fucking give his life to kill the Lannister that was trying to take their land. And Jaime was doing the same thing here, ready to die in the process if he needed to. And Bronn's like, listen to me, cunt. Like, whoa. He's like, till I get what I'm owed, a dragon doesn't get to kill you. You don't get to kill you. Only I get to kill you. And I'm thinking to myself, like, none of that friendship element that he had with Tyrion, where he'd like put himself on the line, not just for gold, you know, like, but because he liked Tyrion to some extent. None of that is here with Jaime.
No,
he does not feel that way about Jaime at all.
Not anymore. And his guy liner is looking super fierce.
And his pure motivation here is his castle and what he's owed, you know, and like, woof, it's just intense. He calls him a cunt. And
only I get to kill you.
Yeah. And Jaime is just terrified of the dragons and of Dany's might. He's sitting there in total shell shock. And
I was only one of them.
Yeah, and she has two more. If she decides to use them, to really use them. Yeah, and Bronn's like, you're fucked.
You're fucked.
Don't you mean we're fucked?
No, I do not.
Dragons are where our partnership ends. I love that line. And later on in the episode, I came back to this part in my notes and added a note when Jaime's talking with Cersei and everything about this. I'm thinking maybe dragons are where Jaime and Cersei's partnership ends too. Cause he's just possibly. Like, he saw the horror and the fury and the mayhem and the destruction caused by Drogon here. And I don't know if like with all the shit talking that people have been saying, like Olenna saying Cersei will be the end of him, all these people talking negatively about Cersei to Jaime, sort of like the way that people are talking negatively about Dany to Tyrion. And he bails on her, you know. I think this is like the last straw. He's not willing to put everything on the line for somebody who doesn't respect him and treat him properly, to when he knows he'll be roasted by dragonfire, basically. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, dragons are where our partnership ends. Bronn's like, fuck that, dude. I'm not going to be hanging around here when those dragons show up and start roasting King's Landing. And that made me think that, like, after Jaime leaves King's Landing and bails on Cersei, we don't know what happens with Bronn.
That's true.
You know, like, so, please forgive him, Drogon. You know, Bronn, come and join Tyrion. That's what I hope.
I hope so too.
Yeah.
I want Bronn and Tyrion.
Definitely. And Jaime's
Brienne.
Brienne. Yeah. And or Tron. Tron's pretty cool
Tron.
Too. So Jaime's freaking out still, and he's like, I have to tell Cersei about this fucking madness. And Bronn's like, you may as well jump back in that river, dude. Yeah, she is not going to be happy about this. I don't know. Yeah. And Jaime Bronn gets up and walks away, and Jaime just continues sitting there, just like gazing off into the distance at the smoke and fire from the battle.
He got a really close look at Drogon too, running up towards him.
Super close. Yeah, almost as close as Jon gets this episode. And
I can't believe that was not in any of our top 5. I thought for sure it was going to be in yours, which is why I didn't pick it.
Right. Yeah. I don't know what I was thinking. There's so many exciting things in this episode.
There's a lot of story movement.
Yeah.
Here, a lot of dialogue scenes this episode.
Yeah, that should have been in our top 5 though, or mine at least. That the Jon meeting up with Drogon.
It would have been my number 1, but I felt like because I had talked about my Littlefinger theory that I should make that my number 1.
Gotcha.
But this this is one of my favorite scenes probably in the whole series. So maybe totally. I should have added it somewhere else, but I didn't.
We'll get there in a second, though. I just wanted to say that when Jaime's sitting on the shore there, I think that he's having an existential crisis, and he's like thinking about all of his options and how much Cersei means to him and what he's willing to give to be with her, and whether he's willing to get roasted alive, and he has to decide, is Cersei worth it? And I feel like that's part of what's going on in his mind as he's sitting there after Bronn walks away.
Extremely conflicted.
Yeah. So from there, we move on to the crest on top of the cliff face at Dragonstone, correct?
Yes.
And here it is. Holy fuck. How cool is this scene, right?
Oh, man.
Dude, Drogon comes flying down, soaring down, and just boom, lands on the cliff near Jon.
So we had Game of Thrones in history back saying that the dragons were portrayed as wyverns in this. But they have Drogon has little claws on the elbows of his wing.
Yeah.
So
interesting, right? Yeah, they're like arm wings.
They're like arm wings. I was not familiar with what wyverns were. So
we're mindful of pterodactyl.
Do wyverns have those little claws?
I guess
on their wings.
I guess they can. Although in A Song of Ice and Fire, there are another species of dragons called wyverns, which are different than these wyverns, than these which would be typical, wyverns. Yeah, they live down in Sotherios, I think, and they're smaller and they do not breathe fire. There's an interesting video called Mysterious Places of a Song of Ice and Fire by Alt-Shift-X, I think. It's worth watching. It's really fucking cool. I'll link it on our Facebook page. Yeah.
I love how Drogon kind of runs up on Jon.
He lands and you see his landing gear as a helicopter lands, and then he just fucking charges up on him, and he's really hustling along, and he's screams right in Jon's face and everything.
I know.
So
Jon
cool.
is just I don't know what to do. I think I just pissed my pants.
And Drogon just keeps getting closer and closer, edging right up to Jon's face, and stops right in front of him. And Jon reaches up to take his glove off of his hand. And
how could you not want to touch one of those?
Oh my God, it's so fucking cool. Yeah, I know.
This mythical creature right in front of you.
And I thought it was funny how dirty his hand is too.
Oh, I noted that. So I was he needs to wash his hands and clean those fingernails, boy.
It's so funny, under his fingernail. Yeah, and Dany's kind of craning her head because, the way that Drogon is structured, she can't see what's going on exactly at this moment. So she sees that they're face to face, basically, but she doesn't really see what's happening. So Jon takes off the glove and reaches out towards Drogon. And Drogon gets closer and brings his face right up to him, and he just slowly touches his face, and Drogon's lip is whole.
Did you see his teeth? He's baring his teeth at him, and he has teeth up in his gums. What are those?
Extra teeth coming down. Oh yeah, it was so cool, man. And his whole lip is moving up and down as
he's growling at him.
I wouldn't say he's growling. It seemed more like purring to me.
That's true. Yeah, it could be that.
With a dragon, it's he sees its family. He smells that Targaryen blood. And this is it's really unique.
His nostrils remind me of a horse's nostrils.
Yeah, very similar for sure. And the long snout like a horse as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So right when Jon touches Drogon here, this is the second time where we get the Dany and Jon musical theme playing. A beautiful and sad song, the Song of Ice and Fire. I think we should take note of it here. Such a beautiful melody. And going upwards. Bending high in the dragon style. And in this note here, when it goes down. Oh, so good. And then back down to the root. finish as Drogon flies off. Thanks again to Lord Nick of House Wiccans for pointing out the Dany Jon melody and the locations where we can find and hear it. So Jon manages to touch him, and Dany has tried doing this so many times and had Drogon leave and fly away even before she's able to touch him, like at the top of the pyramid at Meereen. It's not always a guarantee that even Dany can touch Drogon, you know what I mean? So having her most fearsome dragon, Drogon, be submissive to Jon Snow, and allowing him to touch his face.
Drogon knows who the rightful king of the Seven Kingdoms is.
And so there comes this moment where Drogon's neck ends up in just the right angle so that Dany can actually see Jon touching Drogon's face. And Drogon and Dany must be like, wow, this is nuts. Yeah, she's like,
there's
so
something really
surprised
special
by this.
about him.
Yeah, definitely.
And we get that shot of Drogon's eye, like looking right at Jon, and
blinking.
It has like that inner like eyelid that kind of goes from right to left over his eye.
Yeah, it's
and
so
then
cool.
The eyelid closes. It's so realistic because a lot of animals have that.
Yeah,
like,
fish, birds.
Cats have it.
Cats do too. Oh man, It's wild.
Yeah,
so creepy. So, and then it shows Jon watching all of this, looking into Drogon's eye, and
oh my gosh, and his scales, like he has like little like bluish hints to the scales.
Yeah, and just like there's like just the way his lip is moving, and you can see like the skin under Jon's fingers, and Jon just looks entranced and in awe.
He like sighs, like
oh my god! And
like
I think
when he
he's
touches him,
equally like in awe of Drogon, and just amazed that Drogon is letting him touch his face. Like runs right up to him, like this is family. You know, he's very accepting of Jon.
Maybe he feels pulled to them too in a weird way.
I'm sure he does. You know, he must.
You know.
Well, how could you not, right?
Because, I mean, if you see a dragon like running up on you like that, my first instinct is not to pull off my glove and touch him.
He's badass, though. The meat is bloody tough, especially with Jon.
The meat is bloody tough.
You know? Especially with Jon. I mean, Robb was pretty tough, too, but Jon is next level.
Yeah. He's so badass.
So I think this is another thing that Dany sees here that she's going to remember when she learns that Jon is truly Aegon Targaryen. There's the fact that Jon doesn't like what he's good at, which is killing, which reminded her of Rhaegar, I'm pretty sure, last episode. And then now there's the fact that the dragons are basically accepting Jon as family, like immediately, you know? And so I think these are two very significant things to Dany that are going to stick out when she learns the alleged truth of Jon Snow's true identity. And she's going to have a series of like a realization where all of these things that she's noticing are falling into place, and she realizes the truth of it.
Yeah.
Search your feelings, Daenerys. You know it to be true.
I know. Somehow, I've always known.
Then you know why I have to face him.
She looks so surprised, and Drogon kind of, finally Jon just like releases his hand off of Drogon, and Drogon kind of turns and looks back at Dany like,
yeah,
get down from here and talk to this guy.
Yeah.
You need to talk to him.
And she hops down like, wow, like kind of like blown away by what just happened also. And
I let Justin watch this scene because he loves dragons.
Nice.
Oh my God. He was like, a big black dragon?
That's so cool. And
he goes, look at the dragons. He has like a little stutter.
Look at
the dragons, mommy.
It's amazing. It is so cool, too.
When he flies off, he's like, dude, it's a big dragon.
The way that they did that, the way that they pulled that off, how he kind of like jumps up into the air and you can see like the skin like tightening up around his chest as his rib cage like extends outwards. Yeah, and his muscles. And I don't know how they did it, but somehow they made the physics of this look believable to me. And I was impressed by
Completely believable.
That. Like very very serious accomplishment that they were able to take this and make it look real.
So it's super windy up on that cliff. We've noted that a few times. But when Drogon flaps his wings first, Jon's cloak flies up.
Oh, awesome. Love little details like that like really keep you in the moment.
I think they just superimposed like that perfect timing that like the wind from Drogon like gave him an extra like flip of his cloak.
Totally.
They're beautiful, aren't they?
Yeah, that's not the word I was thinking, but yeah. Gorgeous beasts.
They're not beasts to me. No matter how big they get or how terrifying.
To everyone else.
They're my children.
Yeah, and that's interesting too, like the way she says that, and Jon doesn't really know what to say to that. Like he doesn't really directly respond to her saying they're my children. So that made me wonder, how much of the story does he know? Is he like in his mind he's like, you're like you birthed them? You know? Or does he know like that she hatched them in a fire, like in the pyre of Drogo? Like what does he know? What does he not know? He knows nothing.
I would probably think that he does not know that. Because he's up at the wall at the time that this is all going on when she hatched or birthed.
But I mean, there have to be legends about this spreading throughout the Seven Kingdoms. People know she has dragons. They don't know how.
But the Night's Watch kind of remains like away from all of that.
Yeah, but he hasn't. I mean, he's been at Winterfell. He's been with Stannis. He's heard about the Dragon Queen.
He's heard about the Dragon Queen, but I don't think that it was, I don't know, when would have there been time to talk about how they were birthed?
Yeah, right. Yeah, I mean, we can default Jon Snow knows nothing, we'll say.
Perfect.
Nice. So Jon changes the subject kind of, and he's like, well, you weren't gone for very long. And she's like, no. And I have fewer enemies than I did yesterday. Yeah, exactly. Enemies. Proper grammar rules from Dragonstone. If we know anything, that's one thing we definitely know.
Maybe I need to spend a few days at Dragonstone.
And Jon again doesn't say anything, and so she's like, "What? Like you're not sure how you feel about that yet?" And he's like, "No." Like you kind of roasted people with your dragons and shit. And she's like, dude,
fair.
Yeah, but she makes a really fucking good point here. Like a very eloquent and well articulated argument, I would say. I'm in. She's like, listen, how many people did your army kill taking Winterfell back from the Boltons? He's like, thousands. And she's like, yeah, we both want to help people. Sometimes we can only do that from a position of strength. Sometimes strength is terrible. And
I like how she uses the word terrible.
Yeah, I love that too. It's a perfect word for it. Like don't they say like the terrible wrath of God or too, like stuff like that. Yeah. Something like that. So, it's a good point. And plus like they both want to help people. You can do that from a position of strength, but Dany has dragons. And with that, it gives her the capability that Jon didn't have beforehand, where you know how like Tywin tried to prevent the slaughter of the tens of thousands of people by killing a few people at dinner with the Red Wedding.
Mm-hmm.
Dany has done essentially the same thing by lighting up just that one ship in the bay at Meereen and letting everybody else know resistance is futile. I feel like that with the dragons, Dany could make an example of a few people and prevent way more casualties from occurring than would have otherwise occurred. You know what I mean? Kind of like at the Field of Fire, how Torrhen Stark had learned that all these people were roasted by the dragons and he decided to kneel to save the lives of his people. I feel like instead of fighting these battles, Dany has the capability to potentially prevent a lot of battles from happening by just being flashy with the dragons off the bat. You know what I mean?
Yes, I have to agree.
Yeah. So it's interesting. And, so I think Jon kind of understands that argument, but Dany here remembers what she had heard in the throne room that day they met. And she asks him, And we talked about it earlier. He doesn't answer, but she asks, when you first came here, Sir Davos said you took a knife in the heart for your people.
Sir Davos gets carried away.
Yeah. And then boom, she's like, so it's a figure of speech. And then they get interrupted and Jorah's there. So yeah, we covered that already. So what do you got next for notes? Or is there anything else you want to add about Jon and Dany and the dragon and all that?
Oh, it's just, I can't believe it's not in our top 5.
I know, yeah. Yeah.
Fail, epic fail.
Epic fail, top 5 fail.
I failed.
Well, you intentionally left it off yours, so I'm going to blame it on you.
Okay, it's all my fault. You can blame it on me.
You thought I would have it, though, and I didn't live up to that, though, so you can blame it on me.
I thought for sure you would have it, and so that's why I decided to go with Littlefinger, because I thought to myself, because that wasn't, it was super important, which is why I made it my number 1, but it was between that and the dragon scene, and I figured you would have the dragon scene and definitely not Littlefinger, so that's why so it's actually kind of your fault, Duncan.
Yeah, I knew you'd have Littlefinger, so I left that for you.
Yes.
So where are we next? We're up at the Citadel,
Ravens.
Right? Yeah. No, right. Yeah, we're not at the Citadel yet. We're at Ravens at Winterfell.
Yes, so Bran sends his ravens. Did you know that ravens' eyes actually blink white sometimes?
Oh, I did not.
They have cool, like a little third, like little eyelid that is
kind
white.
Of like we were just talking about, like with the dragon. That's cool, man.
Yeah. Yeah. So we see up in the weirwood tree all the ravens, their eyes are washing white, and we know that Robo Bran is connecting to the ice network.
And they leave from Winterfell and fly up to Eastwatch and then fly past the wall.
Yeah, I think this is actually where we first see Eastwatch in this episode.
Yes, I believe you're correct.
So they fly over the wall, and what a great, like, just way to see the landscape of like where they're shooting all of
Bird's
this.
eye
So
view.
beautiful. Yeah, truly. And they go over kind of the crest of this hill, and they come down, and thousands of dead men are marching south.
Oh, so many.
And you see,
and they fly down so close to him.
I know. I think Bran is scanning for Hodor.
Oh man.
And I noted that I did not see the giants in this image either.
Interesting.
There were no giants that I could make out, and I did scan myself for Hodor, and to my dismay, I could not find him.
Oh man, I hope we get undead Hodor. That'd be so cool, man. If he like breaks Arya's neck or something.
So what I did note is, do you know where the Night King is standing? Yeah,
it's in that crest that becomes is that an important point next episode?
Yes, that's where Jon and the Magnificent Seven fight off all it's the center of the lake.
Interesting. Yeah, I wasn't sure if it was or not. It looked like it.
It definitely is.
It also looks like the thing that Drogon was standing on in this episode as well. That rocky outcropping.
Yeah. Like a random rock
sort of similar.
Jetting out. And the Night King looks up at all the ravens, and they all wig out and fly in all separate directions.
Yeah, he makes eye contact with Bran.
And he pops right out of his vision, and Maester Wolkin's standing right there, and he looks at him and he goes, "Ravens. We need to send ravens."
Yeah, and this is interesting because Maester Wolkin is sitting there watching Bran in his warging state. And so
I think he's curious.
Well, he's probably freaked out because everything that he's learned at the Citadel and shit is like wargs don't exist. These are just tales, and stuff like that. Like back in the day with Maester Luwin, he was talking about how all this stuff is nonsense and wargs don't exist and everything like that, right? So we even get the other maesters discounting what Wolkin is saying later in the episode because they're all like, like none of this stuff is real, and they're like, I thought, Maester Wolkin, like I remember him as having a keen mind. Like, what the hell's going on here, right?
He was timid though.
Timid, yeah. Yeah, so that was just interesting. It's neat to see a maester being exposed to these things that they believe.
It's kind of scoff at.
Yeah, so it could be foreshadowing the Citadel, like the the Night King like landing at the Citadel or something, you know, and those guys having to confront something that they don't believe in either. I'm nervous for the Citadel, man.
Yeah.
Since there's just so many things that George references about history, I feel like it's a parallel to the Alexandria Library, and I'm worried it could get roasted or something like that. That's
nice. I think we're at the Citadel next note.
Yes, we are. They're reading the letter that immediately we get from Bran. So this is it's a time jump, and it's evidence that things that we're seeing aren't always like necessarily perfectly in sequence. So this makes me say, give slack to the next episode, Beyond the Wall, where Daenerys shows up with the dragons in the perfect time. The timing is not shown in order for that.
Yeah,
it makes sense. I swear. So yeah, they're reading the letter, and Sam is over there doing his thing, and they're talking about how prophecies of doom are never in short supply, especially when winter comes, and how they put very little stock in it themselves. We don't know what it is yet. But then Ebrose is talking about how he remembers Wolken, and but another maester mentions, the North has dulled many good maesters' wits. Whether it's the cold or the drink or the company, who knows? And I'm like, these smug bastards. And they're all chuckling. And granted, it does sound ridiculous. The idea, as Maester 1 over here says, a crippled boy claims to have seen dead men on the march beyond the wall thanks to the magical help of a raven with 3 eyes. It does. It sounds ridiculous.
It does sound ridiculous.
But Sam knows exactly who they're talking about.
Brandon Stark.
Yeah. And they all stop dead in their in their conversation and turn to look towards him. And Ebrose.
The crippled boy.
Yeah. And Ebrose is like, do you know him?
I let him through the wall years ago. I saw him go beyond the wall.
And?
Well, if a crippled boy survived for years beyond the wall when no one else could, not even the Night's Watch, not even the wildlings, no one.
Oh.
Perhaps we ought to listen to what he has to say.
And, oh man, that one maester doesn't believe him. That guy pisses me off. Their attitude, you know, like we talk about.
They're so pompous.
Yeah. Holier than thou type thing.
It's like close-minded.
Ebrose is like, I can tell you want to say more, Samwell. You have an idea, and this is Sam's chance. And he's like, listen, everybody like will believe you guys if you just tell them that the threat is real and that they need to send people north to help the Night's Watch fend off the threat. And like, dude, you guys have this entire library. You could tell everybody to just search every word of every faded scroll and book and text and Raven,
people will believe you.
Yeah, and maybe you'll be able to find something that helps us defeat the army of the dead for good. But yeah, the people will believe you. And Ebrose is like, yeah, we could do it. And this news could be true. But it's also possible that this is some type of conspiracy, a ploy by the Dragon Queen to lure the southern armies north. I mean, that is
so strange.
It is a viable thought, but it's out of nowhere. There's no evidence to support that. There's actually evidence to support what, you know, the claim is here. I mean, just the fact that Sam knew this fucking random information about some crippled boy and a 3-eyed raven, you know, that's some pretty damn good evidence that that's believable. You know what I mean? Like he didn't have access to that raven to have any, you know, knowledge that this would be sent or anything like that. Like, pretty believable. So it's like too similar, like too crazy to be a coincidence, you know? And I mean, so of course all the maesters are going to believe this idea that it could be a Dragon Queen plot. That seems way more believable than magic birds talking to cripples, as that one maester says, right? And Sam's like, please, it's real. You have to believe me. I've seen it, you know? And at least Ebrose decides to write a letter to Maester Wolken for clarification and promises that they'll get to the truth of it one way or another, although that's nowhere near enough and time is of the essence. And this is when I was thinking of the Citadel being a microcosm of Westeros, as all the Southern Lords are fucking around and paying no mind to the threat from the North, like poo-pooing it even when they're told about it. So they go on and they're talking about, that will be all, Tarly. They dismiss him. And then as he's leaving, they're talking about how it's remindful of the work of Jenny of Oldstones, who's a kind of like a minor but significant book character. She was the wife of Duncan Targaryen, the Prince of Dragonflies. And there are a whole bunch of songs written about her, including one called Jenny's Song, which the ghost of High Heart always wants to hear when people visit her. Her story is pretty interesting. Reading from a wiki of Ice and Fire, Prince Duncan Targaryen loved Jenny so much he married her against his father's wishes, breaking his betrothal to the daughter of Lord Lionel Baratheon. King Aegon tried to have the marriage undone, but Duncan refused to give her up, ultimately giving up his rights to the throne for her.
Oh, damn.
She was friends with a woods witch whom Jenny brought to court with her, and who prophesied that the prince that was promised would be born from the line of Prince Aerys and Princess Rhaella. When King Jaehaerys II heard the prophecy, he arranged the marriage between his two children. So, kind of a pivotal figure. Rhaegar's whole belief system is kind of based off of everything that Jenny's woods witch prophesied. So, pretty interesting stuff. And we learn here that they have word that Sam's father and brother were roasted by Daenerys. Whew!
Damn.
And Ebros just hasn't had the heart to tell him yet.
He's a good lad.
Sucks. I mean, I think Samwell will be disappointed about Dickon, but I don't think he'll be like too bummed out necessarily about Randall.
Yeah. Be interesting how he feels about Dany after that, though. You know, it's still his family.
Yeah, true. Definitely. I mean, he knows what a fuck up his father is, though, so he'll probably assume that his dad, like, did something stupid. Yeah. Like, you know. So.
Are we going to take a dragon to Dragonstone?
Yeah, totally.
Varys and Tyrion, a great little duo.
So people were saying, remember how last episode or a couple episodes ago, Dany had said, if you ever have a problem with something I'm doing, say it to my face instead of like going behind my back, basically.
He kind of has a problem with what she's doing with the burning people alive.
Yeah, and he's kind of talking to Tyrion behind Dany's back, but he's talking with another one of Dany's advisors. I think it's to the point yet, I wouldn't consider this necessarily going behind Dany's back.
No, I don't think that at all.
It's like right on the border, you know, he's talking to Tyrion and he hasn't, you know, taken up his grievance directly with Dany yet, but I don't think it's to the point yet where he feels it's necessary to take
be fair,
action
she
necessarily.
Gave them a choice.
She did. And I mean, I think really what the problem that Varys is having in this moment is that he's having post-traumatic stress from basically the experiences that he had during the reign of the Mad King. He heard that these people got roasted, and it's making him think about all of these times where he was sitting there watching people beg for mercy, being roasted.
I'm not the one doing it.
Hearing the pitch of their voices as it's screaming.
I'm not the one doing it.
Smelling the burning hair and the roasting flesh as it filled the throne room.
I'm not the one doing it.
Exactly. So Varys is having PTSD here.
Is this the first time we've seen Varys drink?
Yeah, I think so. Like,
because he doesn't seem to like it very much.
Yeah, and he's gulping it. Like, he is guzzling that down. Like, he's having a post-traumatic stress episode here. No question about it from my perspective. So I think this is less of him like conspiring behind Dany's back and more of talking to another counselor essentially, and before it gets to the point where he needs to talk to Dany about it. And giving Tyrion some
advice when he's saying, like, don't make excuses. We need to rein her in a little bit.
Yeah, I'm just saying, because I know we've had listeners who have said, like, oh, pay attention in a couple episodes. He's going to be doing exactly what she tells him not to do. I'm just not quite sure it goes quite that far.
Not yet. I think he would also maybe say it to her face, too, because he's confiding in Tyrion.
Yeah, and it's not like he's conspiring with an enemy force instead of reconciling and being open
okay
with
to
Dany.
Disagree with her decisions.
Yeah, and he's talking with like I said, her hand. It's not like he's conspiring with an enemy force or something.
Sure, he's not like
Dany
talking
is essentially
to Cersei about it.
Yeah, he's talking to Tyrion, which means that Dany will know everything that Varys says. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So it's not like he's like talking with someone who's going to be keeping secrets from Dany or something like that.
And
so
Tyrion tries to kind of console him. You know, Dany's not her father. And Varys agrees, but she needs to have the right counsel. We need to find a way to make her listen.
Yep. And I think this is important too, because it shows that he hasn't given up on her. He's not working against her. He's just he's saying, we have to temper her. We have to be.
She can't go like killing off the great houses of Westeros.
Yeah. We have to make sure she stays on a pretty positive path.
Who's that for?
Oh yeah, he's got a little scroll down in his hand that he's been kind of playing around with. Yeah. It's for Jon Snow.
Did you read it?
It's a sealed scroll for the king in the north. In other words, of course I read
it. What does it say?
And Tyrion's kind of quiet for a second. And then nothing good. As if Varys already wasn't stressed out enough with the whole toasted Tarlys situation and everything, and like worried about Dany, falling into the like baser desires of Targaryen depravity. You know what I mean? Now he's got this whole thing to worry about as well. The army of the undead riding from the north with the Night King and fucking giants and shit.
Yeah.
So goddamn, Varys is stressed. And that's when it cuts to Jon receiving the letter and learning that Arya and Bran are alive and everything like that. And next, I think we're back at Winterfell, right?
Mm-hmm. And we're in the Great Hall and...
Yeah. Arya is approaching just in time to enter the room to hear people talking shit about Jon.
Complaining about Jon.
Yeah, and she's nervous that Sansa's going to like throw Jon under the bus here and usurp his power because this is her chance. They're like, we should have chosen you as our leader, right?
But she doesn't really. She says, you're very kind, but he's doing what he thinks is best.
Yeah, she totally has Jon's back here.
So while she doesn't defend him the way Arya wants, she also she's doing her duty as the Lady of Winterfell. Firm. She's listening to their complaints and not necessarily defending her brother, but
firm in asserting that he is the king,
and he's doing what he thinks is best. That's the most important thing. It's not like he's going behind your backs to conspire against you. He thinks this is the right thing to do for our dire situation.
Yeah, and this is interesting too. It's good that she did what she did and said what she said. I agreed with her.
Arya afterwards.
Yeah,
too.
And I liked her logic with Arya when she explains it. But in this moment, when Arya is nervous about Sansa potentially usurping Jon's power and going behind his back with the Northern Lords here, this reminded me. It sort of made me think of paralleling Alliser Thorne.
Ooh.
Because Jon leaves Castle Black to go to Hardhome to save as many wildlings as possible, right? And Alliser flirts with not letting them through the wall when Jon gets back. And Alliser has to make that choice. Do I let him in with the wildlings, or do I do what I think is right for the kingdoms and let him leave him out there and usurp power for myself, or attempt to, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so this is sort of the same decision that Sansa has to make here. Jon has left Winterfell. Instead of going to Hardhome, he's gone to Dragonstone, and he's going to be coming back with a different crew of people again with some dragons and shit. But this is her chance to basically lock the door and not let him back through the wall. You know what I mean? She has the opportunity to take his armies from him and stuff here if she wanted to, aside from the wildlings, who would not, be happy about this at all either. But I just thought it was interesting. At first, also, Alliser lets him back in. At first, Alliser doesn't betray Jon. It's not until later when they stab Jon in the heart. So at first, here, when given the opportunity, Sansa does not betray Jon, and she lets him back in, essentially, by sticking to her guns here. But that doesn't mean that it's out of the cards in the future for Sansa to betray Jon, which is something else I'm kind of worried about.
Yeah.
So, yeah, just this sort of parallel with Alliser and the option to usurp authority when Jon is absent just kind of makes me nervous about it a little bit.
Yeah, there's so much uncertainty moving into season 8. It's incredible.
Yeah, definitely. So
then we go to the halls, and this is my point: is they're talking about the shit in the hallway,
out in the open,
in the open. You know, and Sansa's like, I told Jon that this was going to happen. He can't just leave the North and expect these hard ass motherfuckers sitting around like twiddling their thumbs,
waiting like ghosts, like they're like his pets.
Yeah, and you know, Arya's like, well, he didn't. He trusted you to hold it for him, and she goes, it's not easy. These guys are proud, and they enter the chambers of their mother and father, and they don't close the door.
Don't close the door.
They don't close the door.
Arya is all pissed off. She's like, these are mother and father's chambers.
And?
Right. And I was kind of surprised here. I mean, like, before they were Ned's chambers, they were Rickard Stark's chambers as well, too. You know what I mean? Like, people die and their children inherit these chambers. This should be expected.
Yeah. It's like, I'm the Lady of Winterfell. Like, this is where I need to be.
And considering that these two have a past, like a history where they've sort of been at each other's throats to some degree, it's believable that this is a thought line that Arya could be on, that she's, you know, mad about this type of stuff. But at the same time, it could be that they have the door open. They're playing up a divide to try to encourage Littlefinger to exaggerate it and play his hand so that they can bust him, you know?
Exactly. It's showing tension where I don't think there is naturally tension between the two of them.
Yeah. Although the
it might kind of wig
tension,
Arya out a little bit, you know, it's like, oh,
sure.
You know, I don't think I'd really want to like stay in my mom and dad's room either.
Right. And whether or not their tension is there, the tension that they project is certainly believable.
Sure, exactly.
Definitely.
And so, you know, Arya's like, oh, nothing, you know, and Sansa's like, just say what you mean.
Yeah, I liked that she seems to, she's encouraging Arya to be open and truthful and say what she means. And it's better than bottling it up.
You've always liked nice things. It made you feel better than everyone. You know, and this
angry with me?
I think this is definitely where they start playing with someone's likely lurking, and this adds a little bit of tension. Like Arya seems a little disgusted with liking nice things, and you know,
now
feeling
Sansa's got power, and like maybe that's all she ever wanted.
Exactly.
And knowing that Arya thinks Sansa is driven by power, the letter that Littlefinger reveals that she had written from King's Landing makes her seem like she had betrayed the family in favor of king and power as well too. So if he did hear this conversation or had someone hear it, it makes sense that knowing what he knows about the way that Arya seems to perceive Sansa, that he would try to find this letter.
Sure, exactly.
Because wasn't he there when she was writing it?
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
Yeah, so that's how he knows it exists.
Yes,
yeah.
He was standing to the left of Cersei.
Next to Cersei. Yeah.
It was Varys, Cersei, and Littlefinger.
Very interesting.
Yeah. And so Arya, I think, starts playing up to, you know, a way that they can have tension with each other. But I think this is all a game to throw Littlefinger off because, you know, they were insulting Jon. You know, why didn't you do anything, basically? And Sansa's like, I'm the Lady of Winterfell. I have to listen to these people's complaints. It's my responsibility.
And their opinions are important to you, she says?
Well, you know, it's Jon's army, essentially. Like, if we piss him off, Jon loses his army.
And I thought this was important because Arya wasn't there to get Winterfell back. You know, she didn't see it. She didn't know the dynamics of the situation that led to it. Sansa's like, listen, Winterfell didn't just fall back into our hands. We had to take it. The Mormonts helped. The Hornwoods helped. The Wildlings helped. The Vale helped. We all worked together. So it's important, I think, that she imparts to Arya how much they owe to all these people that helped them get their ancestral home back. They can't just blow them off.
Exactly. And so Arya's like, well, what if he doesn't come back? You'll need their support so you can work together to give you what you really want.
Yeah, she's like, that's what you really want, isn't it, too, for Jon to not come back? I know you're thinking about it. You're thinking about it right now. And the thought just won't go away. You know?
God. And Arya,
Sansa's like, how can you even think such a horrible thing?
And Sansa's like, God damn it, I have work to do. I gotta go. And she goes, my lady. And
my lady.
So I think
snarky.
that dynamic was totally staged because the door's open. Like, why not close the door?
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, it makes sense because they lure Littlefinger into their trap, and they execute him to get him out of the play. I think off the playboard. I think they were just like trying to rile him up and have him make a move so that they could bust him, catch him doing something dirty.
Well, maybe some of these feelings might be true feelings.
Mm-hmm. They probably talked about this and got over it already.
Exactly.
And made amends. And then they're like, well, these dynamics that we were feeling, we can use these to
flesh out Littlefinger.
Right. Because we see things like, we don't see some of the conversations like Bran doesn't. We don't see the conversation where Bran tells them about what Littlefinger had said to Ned and what he had done. Yet we know it happened based on the way that things unfold, right? So we don't necessarily see everything that's going on. We're seeing the game that they're playing, but we're not seeing the preparation that they've made for
the behind the scenes, if you will.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think the next note that I have is back on the King's Landing beach.
Yes.
With Davos and Tyrion.
Yeah, and Tyrion is having some PTSD now. It's his turn as they arrive.
Last time I was here, I killed my father with a crossbow.
Yeah, as they arrive to King's Landing. And Davos responds horribly, like horrifically. Last time I was here, you killed my son with wildfire. And Tyrion looks shocked.
Like,
I don't know if Tyrion actually knew that.
I don't think he did.
Yeah, it seems like he was surprised by the specifics of this revelation. And surprisingly, Davos doesn't seem to be like holding it too hard against Tyrion either.
Well, because it wasn't like Tyrion went out on the battlefield and sucked his son out to like murder him. It was right. I mean, it was war.
Plus, and his son was like pretty brainwashed by the Red Woman. Like maybe Davos thought there was like some type of inevitability towards it.
Yeah.
Like to it, I don't know.
So Davos tells Tyrion kind of like where to go, how to get up there. And
says he's got his own business in Flea Bottom.
Yep. And
Gendry!
What if someone takes the boat? Well, then we're fucked.
Best hurry. He is a little bit testy with him here, like a little short with him. So probably reflecting that he's
probably
not
hard.
Yeah. He's right after talking about his son and everything. So I think there is an element of not like being 100% cool, but they're getting along really well despite their past.
So then cue Bronn and Jaime going down into the dungeons and
gotta practice, man. You gotta spar, you gotta train. Yeah, there's all this shit going on, but what are you like? You're planning on fighting Dothraki 12-year-olds? You gotta make sure you're on point.
Yep. So why down here? Well,
yeah, obviously.
I don't think you want people to see you fighting because you fucking suck. So,
yeah, duh. Oh man, how cool is it seeing all these different dragon skulls everywhere down there?
Oh yeah, they're all different sizes.
Everywhere.
It's so crazy. So Jaime's like, maybe I'm just going to kill you. How about that? And Bron's like, I don't think you're going to be swinging at me. And then cue Tyrion.
Oh my God. And Jaime just stops dead in his tracks.
It's like, shock, anger, disbelief. Like, what
looks
are you
at
doing
Bronn
here?
like, what the fuck? And Bronn's like, I'll leave you two.
I'm going to go.
I'll leave you two to talk amongst yourselves. And Tyrion wastes no time. He's like, I needed to see you, and I knew you'd never agree to meet. I love it. He says he made him look like a total fool. And he thought he would surprise him by hitting Casterly Rock, but he was ahead of him.
Because he's unsentimental. Father would be super proud.
Yeah, you abandoned the family home. Completely unsentimental. Father would be proud.
Don't
I was like,
talk about Father.
God. That's hilarious. Like, so true, though. Tywin would have been proud. And Tyrion's like, dude, listen. And Jaime's like, I told Bronn once that if I ever saw you again, I'd cut you in half. But that was before he didn't know that for sure that Tyrion didn't kill Joffrey.
Exactly.
So I think he's become slightly more sympathetic to Tyrion since learning that he's been railroaded for a murder that he didn't commit.
And, Tyrion's like, well, you don't have a real sword, so it's going to take you a while to do that.
Be like Theon trying to cut off Roderick's head.
But, look at me, Jaime. Dad was going to execute me. I really didn't have a choice in this matter.
Yeah, super powerful monologue. He's like, he didn't hate me for anything I did. He knew I was innocent. He just hated me because I'm a dwarf, the little monster who was sent to punish him. And Jaime is just overwhelmed. This is more than he can handle. He's just like, what do you want?
Yeah, let's move on. And Tyrion
I can't handle this.
Throws the ball at him. Dany's going to win this war. You're a military guy. You have to know that this is not something that you can walk out of.
You know this to be true.
Yeah.
She wants to suspend hostilities if Cersei agrees to certain terms.
She's even willing to suspend hostilities. That's fucking crazy. She could just come in here and roast you. But she is willing to not do it.
Because she's not her dad.
Right. And I think Jaime's kind of surprised by this.
Jaime's like, if you want to ask Cersei to bend the knee, go for it, dude. And he goes, no, I don't. Actually,
not right away anyway.
We have a more important request.
That's amazing. And Jaime's like, what? 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 Yeah, exactly. He looks so surprised.
Totally. Yeah. So then actually my next note is in Cersei's quarters.
All right.
So Cersei says to Qyburn that it won't be necessary. And I think he's checking on her because Cersei's pregnant.
Yes, definitely.
She's probably not feeling very well.
She probably got morning sickness.
Oh my
or something
God.
like that.
I had the worst morning sickness. I lost 12 pounds because I couldn't even keep water down. They had to put me on special medication. So I would stop losing weight.
Brutal.
It was horrible. Sucks. I couldn't leave my house. I had to present. I remember this. I had to present a presentation over the phone, and I was literally having to put myself on mute and vomiting in a trash can.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was horrible because no one knew I was pregnant yet. It was too early to tell my employer. It was seriously the worst fucking day of my life. I'd be like, oh, I'm sorry, 1 second. I would put myself on mute and I would puke and I would have to continue presenting. I was laying on the floor.
I'm just amazed
presenting
that you were able to do that.
I had no choice.
That's crazy.
It was crazy. Yeah. Damn. So Qyburn walks by because he knows Cersei's pregnant and he looks at Jaime and he goes, Sir Jaime?
Yeah, it's interesting. Qyburn, right when Jaime walks in, Qyburn says, I could give you something. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't in the script, but it was in the subtitles.
Yeah.
And on
Make
HBO
her feel
Go, so
better.
I wrote it down.
Morning sickness. It's not morning. It's all day and all night.
Yeah, just sickness. So Jaime's like, why was Qyburn here? And I think that's important. They're just making the viewer take note that there's something going on here, And we do find out later what the reason is when she reveals it to him.
Well, he is kind of the queen. What are you doing here?
Yeah, snarky, fucking bitch, man. And he right out with it, totally honest. I met with Tyrion and holy shit, she knew the whole time.
Of course she does. She has Qyburn's little birds.
Yeah. And she's like, you going to punish him? Tyrion? Bronn. I'm like, fuck, stay away from Bronn, Cersei. Stay away from Bronn. He's off limits for you.
Don't touch him, motherfucker.
Yeah. Leave my Bronn alone. That guy is like, leave Brittany alone.
Leave Brittany alone.
You know what I'm talking about?
Please.
Chris, something rather
Oh, yeah.
He was on
What's
Tosh.
his last name?
Chris Crocker.
So Jaime says to Cersei that Dany wants to meet, and Cersei assumes that it's a surrender. And Jaime's like, no, it's a truce. And she's like, she just won a huge battle. What the fuck? Well, she claims that an army of dead men are marching on the Seven Kingdoms. Tyrion claims he'll have proof. And she's like, Are you fucking stupid?
Yeah, she's like, what the fuck are you talking about?
So then we get to the, that she knows about
Punishment.
Bronn and,
he betrayed you. He set up a meeting without your knowledge or consent.
God damn.
Do you think anything of importance happens in this city without me knowing?
I love how Jaime just shakes his head. Like,
yeah, you let it happen. Why? Like, of course.
Well, Cersei has finally come to grips with reality that maybe a truce with the Dragon Queen could be in their immediate interest.
Yeah, she has the numbers. If they want to beat her, they got to be clever. Yeah, totally.
So then this is where we discover that Cersei is pregnant.
She drops the bomb on him.
Yeah,
because
she holds her stomach.
Dragon queens. Yeah, whatever stands in our way, we'll defeat it ourselves. For a house, for this.
Who's the father?
Good question. It could be fucking anybody.
You?
Especially if you've read the books. Like, it could be anybody.
Really? Is she kind of a whore in the books?
Oh my God. She has sex with Osmond, and like she has sex with both of the Kettle Black brothers who she has like guarding her. She makes them like Kingsguard. She
fucked Lancel.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I think
that was before he was kind of good looking too.
Yeah, Tyrion totally tells Jaime that she's been fucking Lancel, Osmond, Kettle Black, probably even Moon Boy, who's like the Tyrell's fool,
like
or
a
something
fool.
like that.
Yeah, that's right.
Who would you say is the father?
You.
And this is Jaime's chance to be a father. It's something he's always wanted to, but he couldn't do before to his own children. He could never be the father that he wanted to be.
She goes, it doesn't matter. Like, I'm the fucking queen. And she goes, do you remember what father used to say about people?
The lion doesn't concern himself with the opinions of the sheep. And they hug, they embrace in like this really happy, beautiful moment where Jaime's like, oh my God, I'm going to be a father and we're going to be together publicly. And she ruins this beautiful moment between the two of them.
Never betray me again.
Never betray me again.
And I'm thinking like, this reminds me of, I think it's another Godfather homage where Michael Corleone tells Fredo, don't ever take sides against the family again.
Fredo. You're my older brother, and I love you. But don't ever take sides with anyone against the family again. Ever.
Combined with the other scene where he like kisses him and like holds him like, and he's like, I knew it was you. You broke my heart.
There's a plane waiting for us to take us to Miami in an hour. All right. Don't make a big thing about it. I know it was you, Fredo. You broke my heart. You broke my heart.
Yeah, I think it's like both of those scenes combined here where they're embracing and she's like, don't ever take sides against the family again. Don't never betray me again.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so this made me think of a few episodes ago when Jaime was like, when Cersei was like, are you afraid of me? And Jaime was like,
why
should I be? Yeah, should I be? And basically, she just told you, yes, you should be afraid of her. Don't betray her or she'll kill you.
Basically.
That's what the second half of that sentence is. So it's like Jaime like kind of like is taken aback by that during the hug. Yeah, it's like he kind of like realizes now that like, yeah, you should be afraid, And he's got to have just all these things popping through his head, like Olenna saying she'll be the death of you, and all these people just, like pointing out negative things about Cersei, like Tyrell, etc. too. I mean, not Tyrell, Randall Tarly too.
Nice. Yeah. So my next note is saying farewell to the king in the north.
Yeah. Oh man.
And Jorah.
Yeah, there's actually a really great moment between Tyrion and Jorah here. They have all the reason, at least Jorah has all the reason in the world to be really mad at Tyrion for advising Dany to exile him for the second time after Jorah had, helped him get back to Dany in the first place. And I'm sure that Jorah felt kind of betrayed by Tyrion, who he had developed kind of a positive rapport with at that point,
Yeah. So, Tyrion says, I've missed you, Mormont. You may not believe it, but no one glowers like you two.
Yeah, no one glowers quite like you.
Now, not even Grey Worm.
And he does glower quite
and
well.
And he hands Jorah the coin that the slaver gave him.
I totally forgot about that coin.
And it's Jorah even says it was supposed to last us the rest of our lives.
Yeah.
Take it with you, but bring it back. And that's the plan.
Tyrion does seem like he's keeping it with him. He's planning on making that coin last the rest of his life, you know?
Yeah, it's like a lucky charm.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, he gives it to Jorah. I thought it was a really nice gesture.
Mm-hmm. But you need to bring it back. We need you.
Yeah, we need you. Our queen needs you. And I thought it was a powerful gesture on the part of Tyrion, because it said, like, yes, I advised for her to send you away, but
I haven't forgotten.
I do see value in you, and I'm glad that you're back now. Yeah. I feel like it was like, I'm glad that you're back, you know. And he said, like, I've missed you. So is his way of apologizing.
Then Dany kind of shows up and she looks at Jorah and she's like, we should be really good at saying goodbye to each other.
But it's never any easier.
It's never easy.
Oh.
And she grabs his hands and
touches his hands. That again is a powerful gesture considering he had grayscale, right?
Yeah. And he bends down and kisses her hand, and right behind them, Jon appears and walks up to them, and
he's like, ugh.
I'm going to walk away now.
Yeah, he was going to continue the conversation, but he realized that he should just, you know.
Jon trying to be funny, well, if I don't return, you don't have to deal with the king in the north anymore.
Yeah. I love her response too. She looks deeply into his eyes and she says, but I've grown used to him. And oh man, I mean, right there, she's basically telling him, like, I have feelings for you. Yeah, you know, like,
this is my dragon.
Moment. Yeah. You woke my dragon, you know. Like Viserys would say, you don't want to wake the dragon, do you?
Oh, damn.
You awoke Dany's dragon.
Bound chicka bow wow.
Brown chicken, brown dragon.
Oh, I forgot to note when we were talking about Jon touching the dragon.
Whoa. He hasn't touched the dragon yet. Oh, Drogon.
Well, speaking of touching the other dragon.
He just woke Dany's dragon right now. He hasn't actually gotten to touch it yet.
Well, the same music plays when Jon touches Drogon the dragon and Dany the dragon.
He actually, like Bruce Lee, he also enters the dragon.
So Jon kind of nods as he says, I wish you good fortune and the wars to come, your grace.
Yes.
And they jump in the boat and go off to sea.
I love how we keep getting that line too. I wish you good fortune in the wars to come. Yeah,
and then
definitely.
The last note that I really have here is the Magnificent Seven.
Oh, there's one other thing first, real quick. As he floats out to sea, Tyrion looks over and sees the way that Dany's looking at Jon as he leaves and knows that she loves him, and he just looks defeated a little bit.
Yeah.
And I think Jorah obviously looks back and sees it too.
She has 3 solid men that like legitimately love her.
Yeah, I mean 4 if you consider
Dario,
yeah.
Yeah. So then definitely. We get the and Ranger. Well,
that's a little
from
different
afar,
though. Yeah.
So then we're back at the Eastwatch to prepare us for the next episode.
Oh,
and the Ranger opens the gate and we get kind of it reminded me of like geese flying in a V form, like Jon at the front and like his 6 men behind him.
The Mighty Ducks formation.
Yes. And it's blizzarding outside and Jon looks back at the party and they all kind of glance at each other and Thoros is drunk as fuck.
Yeah, and Gendry's next to Thoros now, even though they fucking sold him to be murdered.
Yeah. And they go off into the wild and, they kind of disappear off into the blizzard and we get a great shot of that Mighty Ducks V going off into the wilderness. And it's very foretelling of the next episode for sure.
Very foretelling.
That's all I got. Man. That's it.
And This reminded me, like I said, of the pilot too. Yeah, that's it. That's all I got too.
Nice.
All right. We are moving along. We're almost done, huh? 2 more episodes.
We're almost done, Duncan.
Yeah, so exciting.
Cheers to you for all of your crazy editing the past 4 or 5 months.
Cheers to you for putting up with the accelerated timeline.
Hey, it's cool. I'm so glad I could be a part of this. It's pretty awesome.
Would have been lesser thing without you.
Oh, thank you.
All right, stick with us, guys. We'll be right back after a short break.
Did you hear that?
What was that? Was that Drogon?
No, it was a white raven.
It's still pretty cool, I guess.
The coolest.
Lady Sarah of House Larkham. This episode was awesome. Arya seeing Sansa not defending Jon to the Northern Lords. Sansa saying, we had to convince the Northern Lords to fight against Ramsay, and now we have to convince them to keep them with us while Jon is away. Littlefinger plays a game with Arya with the scroll, and that scroll that Sansa sent to Robb when Ned was imprisoned. Sansa is starting to use all the knowledge that Cersei taught her when she was in King's Landing. Tyrion feels unheard when he tries to convince Daenerys, but fails when he tells her to send Randall and Dickon to the Wall instead of burning them alive. Jaime is starting to doubt Cersei when she warns him not to betray her again. I think so too. I think the cracks are forming in Jaime's affection for Cersei as she relentlessly demeans him and everybody else around him speaks negatively of her.
I think so.
Definitely.
Thank you for writing in, Lady Sarah.
Yes, indeed.
Sir Matthew of House Repp. It was awesome to see Gendry again. Davos says what we've all been thinking when he jokes about his rowing. Definitely meta commentary there.
Oh, yeah. So good.
He certainly knows his way around hammers.
Oh, yeah.
Qyburn offers to give Cersei something. Could it be moon tea?
I don't think she would be trying to terminate the pregnancy. I think she'd be trying to just soothe
her
sickness.
Symptoms. Yeah, because I think she's excited to tell Jaime that she's pregnant again.
Yeah, maybe like a ginger root drink or something, something with to soothe her stomach.
Yeah. She told Qyburn about her pregnancy before Jaime. Well, I think probably what happened is she probably missed a couple periods and...
Yeah, Qyburn would have diagnosed it. Is that the right word? Diagnosed?
Yeah. So she probably wasn't, she probably didn't want to tell Jaime until she was sure.
Yeah.
Varys is not pleased with Dany's decision of making skills thus far. Drogon seems to take a liking to Jon. In the same episode, we learned that Rhaegar divorces his first wife in favor of Lyanna, making Jon ahead of Dany in the line of succession.
Damn.
Oh,
yeah.
Boom.
Crazy.
Nice.
So intense. Sir Patrick of Hindsight. Varys manipulates Tyrion. What else is new? The spider has a Dahmer or Bundy-like charm that allows him to get away with all kinds of ridiculously shady shit. Not only does he bamboozle the realm, but the audience as well. He literally breaks faith with Daenerys in front of millions of viewers, and only me, Leslie Jones, and one guy on Reddit suspect him at all. The mummer from Essos gives a brilliant performance of acting disturbed by Dany's behavior. The stuff Varys is pressuring Tyrion to bring up with Dany causes tension between them in the very next episode. Jon banished Mel for burning a child. Now he's petting Drogon's muzzle. Maybe children are safe now because they're not big enough for the dragons to consider. Randall Tarly, the misunderstood badass. There are no easy decisions in the war. He sent Sam to the Wall with a heavy heart. He wanted to flog the stragglers in the last episode. Seemed like a total dick, but it would have saved a lot of lives if Jaime had allowed it. He also castrates soldiers who commit rape. The only soldiers Dany brought to Westeros who are unlikely to rape have already been gelded. Sam doesn't know his father is dead, yet somehow the mantle of outspoken displeasure has been passed down to his shoulders. Gilly is unfazed, however. She's like, bitch, I had Craster as a dad. You ain't scary. If there's still a realm left after season 8, I think Gilly should be named Warden of the West and heir to Highgarden. Bran's skin changes a murder of ravens, a subtle clue that perhaps the Night King is skin changing all those corpses. The ravens fly over to Eastwatch and then head directly north until they see the Night King standing on the exact spot where Snowshan's 7 make their epic stand in Beyond the Wall. This hints that perhaps the Night King was waiting for his dragon to be delivered. It also confirms that the Frozen Lake battle, quote unquote, actually occurs at Hardhome in Ocean Inlet. In the extras for this episode, Dan or Dave says Jon and Gendry have a lot in common. They're both bastards. In a couple of episodes, it's revealed that Jon is not a bastard. This is significant because it shows that the showrunners will straight up lie to your face in order to maintain the mystery. Arya finds the note with no trouble, thanks to her old sheep-shifting days. Yeah, just like you said, Rachel. Baelish knew to hide it there because his spies heard Sansa tell Tyrion about sheep-shifting while strolling through the royal garden in Season 3. The way the maesters scoff at the Lodos prophecy makes me think it has to come true in some form in Season 8. Will Euron summon a kraken or sea dragon to pull Egg Jon out of the sky? Ooh, I guess we'll have to stay tuned to find out. Thank you for writing, Sir Patrick of Hindsight.
Thank you for writing in. We love all of your feedback.
Yeah, always great to hear from you guys. All right, that's our show, episode 107. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Thank you, guys.
And a huge thank you to John Bailey, the epic voice guy from the Emmy nominated. That's a little bit of a tongue twister. Yeah. From the Emmy nominated Honest Trailers for announcing our show. If you'd like to donate or subscribe to support us, you can go to paypal.me/GOMPodcast or patreon.com/GOMPodcast to donate an amount of your choosing. There are links to both at gameofmicrophones.com.
Doing some online shopping? Go to gameofmicrophones.com and click on our link to Amazon. As an Amazon associate, we earn from qualifying purchases.
Any contribution you make helps, and you can help secure the continued existence of Game of Microphones. We'd like to thank our patrons, Sir Matthew of House Repp, Lady Lucy of House Roberts, Lady Candace of House Tews, Lady Teri of House Theodore, Lord Jeff of House Allen, Sirenicide, Lord John of House Grilz, Lord Jeremiah of House Carpenter, and Luke the Low Duke. We love you guys and appreciate your patronage. And another thank you to Lord Bryson of House Wolf. Big thank you to you as well.
Yes, thank you guys so much. You're awesome to do that.
Definitely. And make sure to check out Sirenicide, the serialized horror drama podcast featuring me and Archmaester Stitches. Go to Sirenicide.com and download it wherever you get your podcasts.
We also want to give a huge thanks to Lady Lisa of House Sky, High Romancer. She has been super clutch behind the scenes working to get our website, gameofmicrophones.com, up and running. She's also an incredibly skilled artist. You need to check out her amazingly illustrated children's book, The People You May See, available now on Amazon.com. It's Prime eligible too, and honestly, it's one of my son's favorite books. He still takes it out every night. I love that he enjoys it so much. It's a great way to teach your children about, you know, people that they see in their life that may look different or unique from them, and how to deal with that situation.
Yeah, diversity and tolerance.
Yes, it's really a great, her descriptions of the people in her books are just really easy for young children to understand, and her illustrations are just so realistic. It's amazing. It also provides a really easy way to describe to your child like what it is that they're looking at or seeing for the first time. And so when they go to see these people in public, they won't, you know, be nervous or afraid, and just be accepting. And I think it's really wonderful.
Yeah, it's a really cool idea.
You can check all of her work out at fineartsbylisa.com. She's also on Instagram and Facebook /fineartsbylisa.
Next episode, we'll be covering Season 7, Episode 6, Beyond the Wall. And we'll have a special guest, Sir Patrick of Hindsight, joining us as well.
Tinfoil!
Give it a watch and send us your thoughts, guys. We'd love to read them on the air. If you'd like to call, you can always call us at 813-563-3739. That's 813-JOFFREY.
If you would like to write in, you can email us at ravens@gameofmicrophones.com.
Check out our Facebook page at facebook.com/GOMPodcast.
Dragon tail slap.
Whoa!
Like he did with the bushes.
Yeah, that part was awesome. And like he did with the ballista last episode, the scorpion, he smashed it.
Nice. You can also listen to Game of Microphones on YouTube, BitChute, and Steemit. Just search for Game of Microphones to find our channel. Likes, comments, and shares are also appreciated.
We're also on Twitter, Instagram, Gab, and Minds at GOMPodcast.
And we're on Tumblr too at Game of Microphones.
All right, that's our show.
Thanks for listening.
If I don't return, at least you won't have to deal with the king in the north anymore.
But I've grown used to him.
I wish you good fortune in the wars to come, Your Grace.
Ouch.
I love that part. Gendry is so gangsta.
I know.
Gendry!
What up, Gendry?
Right? He's back.
They wouldn't recognize me. Sometimes I hardly do.
Yeah, right. Look in the mirror. Don't even recognize yourself.
Nothing fucks you harder than time.
Classic.
Oh,
Classic.
damn. And so he just basically tosses his tools off to the side. He takes his apron off and he picks up like a man bag, a satchel.
A merce. I loved how he was so ready to go, just like right off the bat too. It was sort of it felt like a sort of meta enthusiasm, whereas like the actor who plays Gendry, you know, he was on the show for season 2, then like a little bit of season 3 maybe, and then he's gone for all these years, and now when things are getting really crazy, he gets the opportunity to come back on the show. You know, so the actor's just sitting there on ice, knowing that his character's out there. Yeah, exactly. It's like, I'm ready to go. I'm ready.
Do this.
Yeah. And then next episode, when they make him run all that distance, I feel that's like hazing. Like, oh, we shot this show 200 days a year for years leading up to this point. We earned it. You want to join the crew now at this point late in the game? You're going to run. We're going to make you earn your spot on the team.
Yeah, that's so great. I love that.
Yeah.
Gendry, you know, lays his hammer into the boat.
Yes.
And Davos
that thing is monstrous too.
Like so fucking big. It's huge. So Davos is instructing him, you know, you need to keep quiet about being Robert Baratheon's dad or son. Ew, they like smell it and they taste it and their face is like, oh my God, this is fucking
so gross.
And so to get them to go away, he's like, I'd hurry along, go to your favorite establishment, have a good time.
Otherwise you'll put a hole through that chainmail.
Oh my God, that's so bad.
Yeah, hilarious. And as they're talking in the background, you can see Gendry like creeping up with a fucking hammer cocked. Oh my God.
Boom.
Crash. Tyrion didn't kill Joffrey. He had nothing to do with it. And Cersei just
After all this time, it so amazes me.
She like has no idea. And Jaime just like cuts her right off. Just like, it was Olenna. She confessed. Cersei still doesn't believe it. She's everything that she believes, that they have a chance in the war, that Tyrion killed Joffrey. She lives in a giant delusion, you know? And
totally. Sorry, I'm yawning.
That's right.
Yeah. Oops, sorry, my chair's squeaking.
That's right. Yeah, it just makes me nervous.
You know, I know Cersei has told you ridiculous propaganda about me, that I'm here to burn down your homes, murder and orphan your children. But that's Cersei. That's not me.
It's kind of hard to believe, though, after what they all just witnessed. You know what I mean? It pans around the devastation, and she's like, I'm not here to destroy your houses, and everything around them is just like destroyed and massacred. If she uses those dragons, really uses them. Yeah.
God damn. You can't send me to the wall. You are not my queen.
Fucking idiot.
So Dany nods to her Dothraki, and they pull Randall away, and Dickon, following stubbornly in his dad's footsteps. You're going to have to kill me too. I like how she calls him Dickon.
Dickon.
Dickon Tarly.
Dickon
Tarly.
Instead of Dickon.
Mm-hmm.
Well, she's about to be dicking the Tarlys in a minute. She dicks their whole house. Don't let it happen again. Bend the knee.
Bend the knee.
Your Grace, if you begin beheading entire families...
I'm not beheading anyone.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun. It's like, you have a fucking dragon behind you, Tyrion. My guess is that she's not going to be beheading people.
Oh, fuck. And then Tyrion looks over at Drogon, and he's just like, like ready to fucking roll.
They escort the Tarlys over to a nice little barbecue patch.
Dracarys. So casual. And Dany's like, well, how would you even get into King's Landing? And everybody stops and looks over at Davos. We got a smuggler in the room.
Onion Knight.
Yeah. And he's like, I can smuggle you in, but if the gold cloaks were to recognize you, I'm warning you, I'm not a fighter. I'm not a fighter. I can't remember how he says it.
Window counting and annulments. He even repeats it.
Yeah.
Bowel movements for all eternity, while the secret to defeating the Night King is probably sitting on some dusty shelf somewhere completely ignored.
And I'm like, dude, you literally just ignored a secret that may be important to defeating the Night King.
I have that note too.
Yeah, he's talking about a secret being ignored. Well, he's ignoring a secret. The secret that Jon Snow is Aegon Targaryen, that may be the key factor in uniting all of the southern armies together to ride north to be able to handle the Night King. This may be the thing that solidifies the southern army. And he's like, Sir Davos told me where you're going. Let me come with you. And Davos is like, dude, what the fuck? I'm trying to save you. And you're like,
you're not going beyond the wall.
He's like, now you're even more likely to die. And Davos is still trying to convince him not to go. He's like, as my father used to say, it's better to be a coward for a minute than to be dead for the rest of your life.
It reminded me of when he goes, don't mind me, I've just lived to a ripe old age.
Yeah, that's like his next line, I think. Yeah.
Oh, that is this episode. Oh, how funny. She had like this big blonde beehive wig, like as tall as you could, like Marge Simpson tall. She has water balloons in her bra. And she's in like 6-inch heels. She's stumbling down the street singing Jolene, and all of a sudden she starts wigging out. And I see this like bat wing across her face, and she's falling, and her water balloons like fall out of her bra and they splatter on the ground. I'm dressed up as Tinkerbell. It's like 5 degrees outside, and I'm in a leotard, and I'm literally like rolling on the ground laughing, like not even trying to help her. The bat finally got out of her wig, and she was just a fucking hot mess. Out. She's like, why didn't you help me? And I'm like, I didn't want to get rabies.
That's hilarious.
The Adventures of Tater Salad and Tater Tot.
Damn. Yeah, you should write a book.
Oh, man. It would be way too long. He has tricked Arya in this scene to spy on him, spying on her.
Right. How crazy is that?
Which causes Arya to find the scroll.
Do you think that she doesn't know that he knows she's spying on him? Like, do you think she's actually falling for this, or do you think that she's playing into his game?
Like, she's spying on him, spying on her, spying on him.
Yeah. Yeah.
Could very well be. I think Arya is very confident in her faceless man's skills, but she hasn't spent a lot of time around Baelish. So I'm not sure she really realizes what a slimy snake he is.
Yeah.
And that's hard for me to say, but it could be possible. My only big question to my own theory, or this theory, I guess other people have picked up on it too, is other than pure survival of just not dying, how could he pop back into the show? Where would he fit in?
Yeah, good
Season
question.
8.
Good question. I think it'd be awesome to get him back. It'd be such a twist, like right at the end, like he like pops out and does some
murder
crazy shit.
Cersei.
Yeah, your brother, and pushes Cersei off the Red Keep or something.
Damn.
Tormund learns that Jon is planning on going north of the Wall, and he says to Davos, "Isn't it your job to talk him out of stupid fucking ideas like this?"
Yeah.
I've been failing at that job of late. How many men did you bring?
And he looks at the table like, this is it.
The big woman. Yeah. And I love Jon's reaction too. He smiles. He loves the way that Tormund loves Brienne. He loves it.
Yeah. Okay, I'm back.
Good evening, Clarice.
Ooh. That was creepy.
I ate his liver with some fava beans and a nice Chianti.
Ew, stop it.
Oh, I forgot to mention before when we were talking about the scroll. That's total Rick and Morty style.
I mean, we got to get the hell out of here and go take care of business. It's important. Come on, Morty.
Oh, no, Rick. Rick will be talking in mid-sentence. He'll just throw a big burp out and like, it can just continue talking.
Oh, God.
And that made me think that, like, after Jaime leaves King's Landing and bails on Cersei, we don't know what happens with Bronn.
That's true.
You know, like, so, please forgive him, Drogon. You know, Bronn, come and join Tyrion. And Drogon gets closer and brings his face right up to him. And he just slowly touches his face, and Drogon's lip is whole.
Did you
like,
see his teeth? Like he's baring his teeth at him, and he has like teeth like up in his gums. Like what are those?
Extra teeth coming down. Oh yeah, it was so cool, man. And like his whole lip is like moving up and down as
he's like growling at him.
I wouldn't say he's growling. It seemed more like purring to me.
That's true. Yeah,
you
it
know,
could be that.
Like with the dragon, it's like he sees its family. He smells that Targaryen blood. So Jon manages to touch him. And Dany has tried doing this so many times and had Drogon leave and fly away even before she's able to touch him. Like at the top of the pyramid at Meereen, it's not always a guarantee that even Dany can touch Drogon. You know what I mean? So having her most fearsome dragon, Drogon, be submissive to Jon Snow, and allowing him to touch his face.
Drogon knows who the rightful king of the Seven Kingdoms is.
So I think this is another thing that Dany sees here that she's going to remember when she learns that Jon is truly Aegon Targaryen. There's the fact that Jon doesn't like what he's good at, which is killing, which reminded her of Rhaegar, I'm pretty sure, last episode. And then now there's the fact that the dragons are basically accepting Jon as family, like immediately, you know? And so I think these are two very significant things to Dany that are going to stick out when she learns the alleged truth of Jon Snow's true identity. And she's going to have a series of like a realization where all of these things that she's noticing are falling into place, and she realizes the truth of it.
Yeah.
Search your feelings, Daenerys. You know it to be true.
I know. Somehow, I've always known.
Then you know why I have to face him.
She looks so surprised, and Drogon kind of, finally Jon just like releases his hand off of Drogon, and Drogon kind of turns and looks back at Dany like,
yeah,
get down from here and talk to this guy. You need to talk to him. They're my children.
Yeah. And that's interesting too. Like the way she says that, and Jon doesn't really know what to say to that. Like he doesn't really directly respond to her saying they're my children. So that made me wonder, how much of the story does he know? Is he like, in his mind, he's like, you're like, you birthed them, you know? Or does he know like that she hatched them in a fire, like in the pyre of Drogo? Like, what does he know? What does he not know? He knows nothing.
I would probably think that he does not know that.
We can default Jon Snow knows nothing, we'll say.
Perfect. Nice.
I mean, so of course, all the maesters are going to believe this idea that it could be a dragon queen plot. That seems way more believable than magic birds talking to cripples, as that one maester says, right? The problem that Varys is having in this moment is that he's having post-traumatic stress from basically the experiences that he had during the reign of the Mad King. He heard that these people got roasted, and it's making him think about all of these times where he was sitting there watching people beg for mercy, being roasted.
Not the one doing it.
Hearing the pitch of their voices as it's screaming.
I'm not the one doing it.
Smelling the burning hair and the roasting flesh as it filled the throne room.
I'm not the one doing it.
Exactly. So Varys is having PTSD here.
Did you read it?
It's a sealed scroll for the king in the north. In other words, of course I read it.
What does it say?
And Tyrion's kind of quiet for a second. And then nothing good. As if Varys already wasn't stressed out enough with the whole toasted Tarlys situation and everything, and like worried about Dany, falling into the like baser desires of Targaryen depravity. You know what I mean? Now he's got this whole thing to worry about as well. The army of the undead riding from the north with the Night King and fucking giants and shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's like, that's what you really want, isn't it, too, for Jon to not come back? I know you're thinking about it. You're thinking about it right now. And the thought just won't go away.
You know? God. And Arya.
And Sansa's like, how can you even think such a horrible thing?
And Sansa's like, God damn it, I have work to do. I gotta go. And she goes, my lady. And
my lady. So snarky.
So then cue Bronn and Jaime going down into the dungeons and
yep. Gotta practice, man. You gotta spar, you gotta train. Yeah, there's all this shit going on, but what are you like? You're planning on fighting Dothraki 12-year-olds? You gotta make sure you're on point.
Yep. So why down here? Well,
yeah, obviously.
I don't think you want people to see you fighting because you fucking suck. So,
yeah, duh.
Well, if I don't return, you don't have to deal with the king in the north anymore.
Yeah. I love her response too. She looks deeply into his eyes and she says, but I've grown used to him. And oh man, I mean, right there, she's basically telling him like, I have feelings for you. Yeah. Like
you touched my dragon.
Moment. Yeah. You woke my dragon, like Viserys would say, you don't want to wake the dragon, do you?
Oh, damn.
He awoke Dany's dragon.
Bound chicka bow wow.
Brown chicken, brown dragon.
Oh, I forgot to note when we were talking about Jon touching the dragon.
Whoa. He hasn't touched the dragon yet. Oh, Drogon.
Well, speaking of touching the other dragon.
He just woke Dany's dragon right now. He hasn't actually gotten to touch it yet.
Well, the same music plays when Jon touches Drogon the dragon and Dany the dragon.
He actually, like Bruce Lee, he also enters the dragon.